Yeah, I think it would be easier to debate something that I don't necessarily believe in because I would be able to use arguments that like go towards the point even if I don't believe in them though. Cuz like if does that make sense?
Sure. That doesn't work for me because, like, if I were to try to argue on behalf of the transphobes, like, it wouldn't help me because I have too much experience with it. Just one way around. It doesn't mean I can't steel person them. I know what their arguments are. Um, it just, it doesn't
You don't
give me any value at that point.
you don't have to steel man their position. You just say no.
Well, yeah, I would definitely say like value-wise, mock debates probably aren't the the best for that. But I think for I don't know. It just sounds
Yeah.
fun to me, but
Oh yeah, no, I'm not telling anyone they can't enjoy it. The reason I was taking the opposition is
oh no, no.
because Jake wants
You
to
can
like
just
super
say that
format
you're
things.
boring.
Well, that's what's funny is like he wants to super format things, right? And my whole thing is like Jake, there's a certain flow, especially to like people who are coming on to debate like on the fly. And what you're doing is you're totally breaking up that flow. I even call like we both kind of call it at this point his 30-second part, the boner killer.
Mm.
Because I'll be honest, I'm a debate pervert. It may be a bit of a paraphilia of mine.
So what do you think you would want to change to kind of fix the issues? Do you have any ideas?
Oh, I just put that like 30 seconds of steel personing your opponent like at the end because it's you can pick from more, and it might even be easier to generalize after you've had a longer discussion with them.
Because I was only there for the first one. I like the kind of format where you do the intro, the steelman, but then you like open it up to like just open discussion. I wonder if that would address it too, because
No, well,
maybe
that's
it'd
what
be
he
more
was
into
doing.
minute.
It doesn't
Okay,
work that way. At best, like it's like the intros are hardest enough. Is my experience in how long to do them because nobody wants to do 30-second intros, but everyone wants to see the back and forth. Nobody
Oh, well,
in your
I think
audience really wants to hear the intros that badly.
so. Wait, was the format? Because I think when I did it, it was like 3 minutes of like the first thing, then the 30 seconds, and then the open thing.
His
Open
is
panel.
2.5 minutes, but basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but since
Because
it's
also like
speed debating, it's 1v1.
so I could be wrong. I would just think like I always don't allow them to go the open panel phase until they actually steel man the argument.
Oh, for as a
In
solution
someone,
for if they refuse.
yeah.
But that again, like if you want to have the pace that people can enjoy as an audience, like if you want your audience to be able to sit down and actually enjoy
I can see that. Yeah.
the flow of the conversation, that's just a total deal breaker. Especially for me, like I kind of know what the audiences want here. I don't want to admit it because it's pretty gross. It's just blood sports. I think that we're a bit smarter than that, and we can attract audiences who want more than just blood sports. But at the end of the day, what's going to keep the people coming back is something slightly more than just like I'll admit I'm being boring right now, right? Like these kind of discussions.
When and to add your thing, obviously my channel's not huge, but I was like just looking at the viewership numbers between like our speed debate stream and the one I did with Torshaa would kind of turn into like an open panel where it's like all of us versus one person with like me moderating, and that one had way more views. So yeah, maybe that open chaos format is just better for overall viewership or viewership retention.
Well, yeah, because people follow the panelists from their community into yours.
Well, I just meant like I assume like that is more pleasing to like watch because it's more aligning with how people actually view and like think about debates. Whereas most people don't think about like, oh, let me do the 2 minute part, then a 30 minute steel man, and then like people don't really think that way.
Yeah, I think a good like intro and then just like open discussion is probably the most enjoyable. I personally don't like super like overly timed
Yeah, I hate like the
debates and
super. Yeah,
sections.
There's
I
also
guess
a
they have
lot of
their place.
nuance. There's just a lot of nuance to moderating conflict. Like
Sorry.
it's like when people start interrupting each other, right? You cannot, and like nobody's going to get this perfect, but you can almost sometimes come in either too quick or too slowly.
Hey.
Hi
Hey,
there.
King.
Done.
What's up?
You're done. Melanie,
I'm not done. No, you're
Melanie.
done. No, you are.
Is it? Or is it the
What's
beginning?
happening?
Torshaa, make sure you're sitting on a towel, mama. No, Melanie,
What the
it's going down like this. You come jumping in, getting all
Tommy, wait, Tommy, chill out. What's happening
you
right now?
chill out. This woman, she was,
Yeah, you chill out.
She was crip walking on mama in chat earlier. She
Oh,
was
yeah.
crip walking on
Hells
mama.
yeah, I was.
What's
Go
happening?
ahead. Go ahead. Speak
Grace
your
can get
piece, lady.
rolled.
Go ahead,
Grace
speak
can
your
get
piece, lady.
rolled. I hope Grace gets rolled.
Yeah.
I don't want to
You're
rehash
looking
this.
beautiful with that hood on,
We
mama. You
squashed this
figure that out.
drama. Let's not rehash this again.
It's so funny.
Tommy, is that what you
OPC.
wanted to
You
add?
say some shit.
Let's wrap this up with OPC's thoughts
Yeah,
because I
let's
know he's
wrap
here.
it up. I love that, Melanie. You.
All right, see you around, Tommy.
I gotta
Yeah, OPC
jump
done.
off of here because my
Okay.
dog keeps scratching.
Aw.
Do your
I don't
thing,
know
do
what
some-
she wants.
Any parting
I'm
words?
coming, okay? She's like trying to tear everything
So
down.
Torshaa, I actually came up to talk to you.
Oh, hi,
Yeah, she's gotta go.
Don. I was about to jump off. Sorry.
Another
I
time.
heard, yeah, maybe another
You get a
time, but
quick
I was
one.
raised in a Free Will Baptist church, and I heard some of your views on free will,
Mhm.
and I just was going to ask you some questions, but we can do it some other day.
Let's do it another day. I really want to, but when my dog starts doing this and I can't figure out what she wants, I've given her everything.
Sure.
So
We'll make that
she
hap- we'll
wants
make that
my
happen, OPC.
attention.
Me and Tor, I've been dying to talk about that topic. So
Let's do it. We could do it tomorrow or something.
I mean, that could be a debate club episode if we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Well, I don't really feel equipped to debate you.
That's
I was
okay.
just gonna-
I've been here to debate her this whole time. PRAWNCESS, you
Wait.
haven't let us actually have this debate.
Torshaa has to leave though.
I know. That's why I'm mad that you actually let every other discussion happen,
Well,
including.
I'm gonna go take my dog outside for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
Come
are
back.
still gonna be on, but if you are,
I'll find some reason
very
to
possible.
filibuster. I'll filibuster the entire time.
what does that mean? I don't know. I'm coming, baby.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
god,
Okay.
I'm more
She's
politically
yelling at
savvy
me.
than you.
Go take care of Lokai.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Wait, so what are all your? Oh wait, never mind.
So we're kind of the
So
same.
part-
I don't with the compatibilism thing. I'm not sure if we're exactly the same. So like with my scientific views, to me it seems like on a more like molecular kind of smaller scale level, that's where things are deterministic. And you know there's also just other things that don't have will in this universe, like the weather and stuff. That is chaotic but deterministic. But
So-
humans,
We're gonna add to the topic. Okay,
like
no.
the human brain has so many possible kind of like degrees of freedom that like that's where our free will comes through. There's so many different ways that the human brain can act off of a single determined factor.
Is anybody? What are your two positions if we're both compatibilists?
I think I'm
You're a
on
bit
the
quiet.
determinism.
Also, you're a bit quiet, by the way.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So I've actually contemplated. So I don't know if you guys are. I'm more on the theological side. There's free will, and then there's like generally it's Calvinism is what they call it, but it's God is in control of everything, and people basically are. It's almost like they're robots. But I think Torsh's views are more just like deterministic stuff. It's not really necessarily theological. I just heard her talking about it, and it was kind of fascinating. I've never heard it from that type of angle. I just want to go over a little bit further what she believes, especially about human responsibility.
Are you a monotheist?
If you're Yes.
I think we're pretty aligned. OPC, if you want me to tell you my take, I'm pretty sure that's one thing
Yeah.
you're pretty on point on. Because I think I'm more on the determinism angle. Well, here, before I get into that, I think it's a fun thought exercise. Who do I want to do first? I'm gonna do Ghosty. I'm gonna have you do a little exercise if you don't mind. I'm gonna ask you a question. Just try to answer it as fast as you can
Okay.
without thinking about it too much. Name a celebrity. Any celebrity.
Johnny Depp.
Why did you think about Johnny Depp and not someone else?
Because my Twitter is open and I post a lot of like Johnny Depp, Amber Heard stuff.
So basically,
Wait,
because you
PRAWNCESS.
saw- go ahead.
random, not being able to be random is not proof that we're deterministic. Randomness is not proof of free will. Those are two different things.
I think it's definitely related.
Also, like I
Also,
had,
that wasn't my only point, but I was still starting off there. Go ahead.
I also had like another celebrity in my head, and I chose to say Johnny Depp.
Sorry, I just got a text one more time.
I had like another celebrity coming to mind,
Oh, yeah.
and I last second chose to say Johnny Depp because I was trying to be as fast as possible. So like I could have chose to say another one, but I didn't.
I'm just curious. What do you mean by that? Like someone else came in your head, but like it didn't like fully form.
Was it Hormaxer? Were you going to say
Yeah,
Hormaxer?
I was trying to think of like a celebrity as fast as possible, and I thought of like a couple, and I just picked which one to say. So
That makes sense. To me, what the point I was trying to demonstrate. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But see, I would say that's still not really choosing because of those ones that popped in your head, you didn't really choose which ones popped in your head. That was just.
Oh shit. Oh, sorry.
But no worries. The point I was trying to demonstrate is like I don't think you can really show authorship of your thoughts, and to me, like that's what free will kind of is. And so, if you're not really if you can't really have authorship or like show the origin of their thoughts and how they originate from you, I can't see how that and free will is compatible.
So where does free will begin and end? Because I would say like if you can choose to stop breathing, that kind of overcomes like the function of breathing. And if we were deterministic, we wouldn't be able to overcome the functionality of systems, right?
Also, if you want, I think Tiki Tac is here. I know him from my channel. He's really knowledgeable about this stuff, and I think he's a free will person, so we would have one of each.
Ooh, interesting. Tiki Tac, you're on.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of bring up this subject of determinism. And my thoughts on it, why we have free will, is actually based around quantum states and quantum teleportation. So, Melanie, since you're the one who's more into like the sciencey stuff, are you familiar with electron quantum teleportation on their orbitals?
Is that the ones like where?
So I understand electron orbitals. I know everything down kind of to like the subatomic level because that's part of chemistry, but I haven't taken quantum physics. So if you want to give me a brief overview,
yeah,
if you need.
So the idea is that whenever an electron teleports, we can run the math to get the probability of a few locations of where it's going to be, but we cannot predict at which location it's going to teleport to. So at one point in time, it will like flip out of existence and then flip right back in, but it'll have like 3 or 5 or 8 options available to it where it could teleport. Now, off of this, you know that the electron orbitals kind of make like organic compounds vibrate.
Sure. Well, it's more like a noise vibration, though, not like a harmonic, right?
Yeah. It's it generally
the Brownian motion.
Yeah, and this is how spectroscopy works in identifying compounds. It's based off of the IR wavelengths that reflect off of it, based off its vibration.
Depending on the spectroscopy, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so those electron orbitals causes causes the movement of these molecules, but you also have the entanglement probability equation of the teleportation of the electrons. So
Actually,
maybe
can I ask
within
you something
that realm,
I've been curious about? Are all electrons considered to be entangled with other electrons, or is this like a special event?
that I'm actually not quite sure of.
Okay.
They have to become entangled. I could be wrong with that. I'm definitely not an expert.
Yeah, it's I just know a little bit about like the I would say the metaphysical side of it, of their probabilities and how just the equations generally work.
Okay, sorry for interrupting you.
But it's okay. But you could kind of conceive that there is actually an entity of a mind and a consciousness that's separate from the brain. Do we like agree on that premise, or do you kind of have like some other interpretation of what the mind is?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so I know whenever people get into like metaphysical theology debates, there's the concept of the mind and consciousness that's a separate entity of the brain, or it's either an entity that's made up from the brain chemistry.
Yeah, sure. So started with the soul, but then when we learned that the brain was like the center of thought, really, then we kind of turned it into the mind kind of idea. Yeah, the essence of thought.
Yeah, so what my theory is that the mind and consciousness is actually that quantum realm of, those particular like vibrations and interactions of the quantum teleportation electrons.
Sure.
So
Well, I pointed out earlier that these vibrations tend to be noise, right? And the
That's
problem
correct.
with
You
thanks.
might be talking about this.
Maybe I don't actually know what
Maybe.
cymatics is. I don't know what cymatics
What's
is.
cymatics?
I'm going to let you guys go ahead and pretend you know what you're talking about. Well, I
Cool.
literally have the text.
He's got his glasses on too. That's pretty scary.
What do you mean?
Is
It's
this
not being scary, miss. What it's being is a genuine human being out here, and I don't mod people, and I don't overtalk people. What I do is I come in like a.
No, you're
genuine
over-talking
human
me
being,
right
and
now.
know
I
what the
wasn't
words I'm
finished,
talking
King.
about. That's fine. Go ahead and finish your chit chat. Well, I just listen to it. It's going to be cute.
It's so bold to be like, I don't overtalk people when you're literally over-talking somebody. I can't even. Like, that's some bravery right there. Okay, so
Go ahead.
Like I pointed out that like a lot of these vibrations are noise, and I don't think that they like noise particularly is random. And as I pointed out earlier, randomness is not kind of like the counter to determinism. To prove free will, like the will is involved, so it has to be anti-random. I'm eliminating randomness with my will in a sense.
yeah, so I am not categorizing the quantum teleportation as something that's random. I'm seeing it as there are options given to you on these pathways, and that's where our mind comes into coexist to influence one or other. Think about.
Wait, let him finish,
let me
Tommy.
talk. Let me talk.
Tommy.
Let me talk.
Fuck King.
The idea of the concepts of like karma or the yin and yang, how it seems like based off how you live your life and how you influence your environment around you tends to sway things in the direction of what you're wanting to take. And I think that's part of the influence of our will, is being able to direct ourselves on those options of paths.
Well, you know how we conceptualize the fifth dimension, right? And even the sixth dimension. The fifth dimension is kind of like a tree of evolving possibilities.
Wait, let's let Tommy respond if that's okay.
I mean, we were having a good back and forth, but
that's
whatever.
fine. Miss. Melanie, on camera.
Just adjust the point, please.
No, it's you and I were the first people to do it on camera together. So just please, I respect you.
Address the point, or I'm going to cut you off because I want to jump in here too.
What it is I need to figure out about the fifth dimension, and we'll go into vibrations and talk. Well, they talk, and I go ahead and have the Hans Jenny book on exactly everything they're talking about.
Okay, can I finish what I was going to say then? Because he's not like he says he wants to get in on it, and I haven't even gotten in on it yet.
No, I want to hear about the fifth dimension. I've never heard of this one.
Okay, so the idea is that instead of reality, like some say we're in the fifth dimension actually, because after we get past kind of like the chaos of time where structure can't happen, in the fifth dimension we're kind of moving through a series of possibilities, like a snake on a tree that could be taking branches and stuff like that. Now, what I would argue though is that alone is not sufficient proof that we are like everything is pure free will, because you can't argue yet that we're not the ones driving the unfolding of the fifth dimension. So again, like I think like the compatibilism for me is that we don't have control of the cosmos and the metaverse or even the weather. We don't have control of the atoms or anything like that up until, what we can do in lab scale experiments. But it's, and I'm saying that knowing that we can do chemistry. So obviously there's some caveats, but the idea being that what our will affects is essentially what's at the same scale as us, the ecology around us, so to speak.
So I completely agree with that premise that we don't have absolute free will. But I believe in our position and our states through life is that we are given options based off of our surrounding environment. To kind of respond on the fifth dimension level, so I'm able to conceive that there could be possible more dimensions out there, and it suggests that based off of the quantum mechanics that we observe.
And by the way, what I stated was one possibility. one
Guys, like,
interpretation of
question soon?
multiple dimensions. There's other interpretations. Just to be super duper clear, not hacky or anything like that.
Yeah. And I will also grant that time is the one dimension we absolutely do not have control over, and I would say is something very unique to humans, is our ability to perceive time and be locked into the direction that it takes, which is kind of interesting because when you get into religions, that is the one pivotal thing that kind of separates us between God. Like God is timeless, and we're the ones bound by time. So I don't know. It's just another interesting note on that.
Can I jump in? Because I think the quantum physics thing is really interesting, but I don't necessarily see why there has to be a connection. Like we know quantum physics acts kind of very differently than macro physics, so I don't know why I would like make a correlation. Obviously, there's going to be impact because they're related to each other, but I wouldn't say just because like there's one thing that acts this way in the quantum realm that it has to affect consciousness. I don't get that connection.
Yeah, it could be as meaningful as astrology at the end of the day.
Possibly. My thoughts is that our mind exists within the quantum realm, as it's essentially an energy force that can influence the possibility of states. And then our minds are just in this physical world for this moment. And if we go into the idea of time, well, upon death, if we do have a soul and consciousness, where would it be? It would be on that extra dimension of the quantum world. So that's where that separation would come.
Do you derive some of this? Sorry, PRAWNCESS, but this I just had a brainwave. Do you derive some of this from the idea that we collapse particles we collapse waves into particles by observing them?
Yes.
So there's a problem with that, in that we don't know if like our actual conscious observation is what does it, or the constraints of the experiment itself. So it could just be that we're limiting the amount of variables that could happen through the setup of the experiment. And since we don't know what those variables are, we can't tell if it's consciousness or the setup itself doing it.
Yeah. So the thing is that we represent the equation as a wave. And the wave produces a level of probability where a particle
and I
can
love
land.
Schrodinger, by the way. I think we both love Schrodinger, so let's
I like
do a shout out to
make
Schrodinger.
Yeah, I like making the Schrodinger jokes. But yeah, it's like I see it as the wave is the probability equation, and then where the ripples are like strengthened is essentially the probability where a particle will land. But we can't predict exactly where that particle will land. We just know a general area of where it can be, and that's my portion I'm basing it off of.
And you
I'm
know
not.
what's funny is you see a lot of these patterns and stuff like weather and stuff like that too. Where we don't actually see them is in neuron activity. Neuron activity is more like fractal in nature rather than wave-like.
Yeah. It's that I'm probably not going to get into too much because I will have to go into my psychedelic days. But yeah.
Sorry, no, I wasn't saying shut down. This is me telling Dan the dating stream is over. That we're on a new segment now. But
Tommy, if you're
Josie,
talking, you're muted.
And yeah, you're muted on your end, Tommy. Not
He's just staying pumped
Not
up.
me.
He's just staying pumped up,
Yeah.
so that way he's ready for when
but
it's showtime.
Ghost. Just, did you want to add anything? Just I know you've got a chance to talk that much yet.
I just want to say, like, when I'm talking about like compatibilism, where I come from is like there's genes that I think are deterministic in nature and that can determine like a lot of the way we act and decision making and stuff. But I also do believe that we have free will, and there is a free will aspect to discern from those things. So that's kind of where I'm coming from my compatibilistic view.
I think can I jump in real quick? Because I think it's interesting how we're all coming at very different directions. Because I've considered all this stuff. Like, I think the quantum thing, I've seen that connection, but to me that is less apt. Like, to me, it's like it comes down to a practicality thing. Where again, here's another thought experience. Like, if you were in the body of like a famous serial killer like Ted Bundy, you wouldn't like magically have the willpower to not be a murderer. You would have the willpower of a serial killer and the upbringing of a serial killer, and you would probably act like a serial killer.
So do you think people are like guilty or like never truly guilty and innocent for their actions? Like it's not really their fault?
I think we still have to treat them as kind of like how we do today, where we had to separate them from society because they might
Yeah.
be willing to do that again. But I definitely don't look at. I mean, I have a lot of problems with our current justice system, how it's mostly based on like punishment and punitive. And yeah, I would get rid of that because I think that really doesn't solve or really address how I look at how those acts are done, if that makes sense.
Well, I guess I have a follow-up on that. So I would say that that thought is thinking just a little bit too simple on the biology of our DNA and how we develop. Because yeah, DNA from the base level, it's pretty deterministic. But the thing is that there's another factor called gene expression. Which, based off of your environmental influences, the things you consume, the way you react to things as like a child and how you're trained, you'll develop different gene expressions that will actually
But those are all things
enhance
outside
or
your
degrade.
control.
What's that?
Those are all things outside of your control.
Somewhat. It
Really,
comes
all
down.
those things you have no control of.
But you talked about something like the Ted Bundy example, where if you were the one to come into his mind, well, are you also saying that he's going to go through the same exact life of the type of parents that he's going to be with and how he was treated and all that?
And yeah, in that example, yes.
Because yeah, you would probably ultimately end up in the same direction as him, but it's all those outside influences of everybody else that's making that determinism. Whereas if he was on a different environment but same genetic code, the outcome would be very different.
Oh, I completely agree with you. The thing is, to me, no one has control over that. So therefore, I feel like you can't say it's free will because you don't control your upbringing or what family you're born into or your environment. All that stuff is, for the most part, completely outside of your control.
But you'd agree that if we were deterministic, we could put you in that same setting every single time, and we get the exact same results, right?
More than likely, yes. I would probably say like 99%.
Well, that's definitionally deterministic, by the way.
Well, I don't necessarily believe in determinism, so.
No, I'm talking to PRAWNCESS.
Okay,
gotcha. Because I'm thinking, does it have to be that definitive, or
Yeah.
could like you have like
anything
a strong?
that's if I do deterministic programming, it literally means if I run the same simulation twice, I'll get the same results. And I know this is different medium.
I think I am open to that. I think I have some pause because that does seem really unintuitive on some level.
See, like even if what you're talking about is true,
Tommy, you can talk. You're muted on your end.
But let me finish, though, please. Even what you're saying is true. My interpretation is you can make all those variables the exact same in the hypothetical world where you can control those variables. And the problem is that there's too much noise in the equation. And you're going to constrain a lot of outcomes that no longer happen because of it, but you will not have deterministic outcomes where things always land on the same result as the previous run.
I guess my answer would be like, if you really could get like 100%, it's the exact same scenario. Which again, I guess that'd be like 100% simulation, which I guess is not technically possible. But if you could do that, yeah, I guess I would expect the exact same results. I'm not 100%. I'd be open.
And admittedly, we can't test for. It would be impossible to do a truly deterministic test to begin with. It only really works on computers.
Yeah, math and computers.
When I heard someone say this recently, right? Even if you could do a 100% real simulation, you basically would be creating a new universe because it's
no.
You know,
oh my God.
I don't know if I believe that. I heard someone say that
because information doesn't matter.
I got a good movie for this. It's called The 13th Floor. I don't want to spoil it, but you should check it out. It does go into like the simulation. Yeah, it goes into the simulation theory and stuff.
I've dabbled in like what it would take to truly like, simulate molecular interactions and stuff like that. Like they do simulations for protein folding to figure out what other possibilities there are.
Oh, yeah.
It's not possible, but if you could do it, you'd just be making a second universe or whatever. Sorry.
To take the example of like protein folding, it's so during the virus and the lockdowns, there was an open source project to actually figure out the protein folds on that particular virus.
I do want King to jump in here. So
and it required
finish up and King.
Yeah, it required like many weeks of everybody around the world donating their computing power from their machines in order to complete it. So it's like, if it requires that much in order to mimic just one protein, we can't really simulate a world.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
oh,
so
King,
No, I'm never ready for you, King.
I have a quick question because you're coming in hot. Before you go into your thing, where do you fall in this? What's your take?
Well, one, what they're doing right here is like a weird back alley. One guy's taking one thing and he has a knife, right? And he's stabbing the subject. And then the other person just shows up behind you and kneecaps me from the back. When they're both like fighting, like they're saying the
What
same
did I?
shit.
What did I miss?
That same thing. And it's fine. And everybody can laugh about it. The number one thing with this is I come at a level of something that you guys have no idea. I came and I met you guys with a level like, oh, he's the motherfucker that just showed up and has no brain or whatever. But when we start talking about even, so you brought up the
cymatics.
thing.
Get to the cymatics, King, please.
No, the cymatics is easy.
I still don't know your stance, and that's what,
No,
what I was asking.
Okay, so the will do and won't do is free will one thing. Okay, so I have no idea who Tommy Lee King number 2 is, the second. I have no idea. Okay? I met him when I was 17, right? My name's Tommy Lee King III. My mother told me, she's like, she only knew him, I guess, for like 6 months, 7 months. She goes, you sound like him. You do, and when I was younger, he would say all this shit. So right there proves a little thing about the genetic similarity that you guys were talking about. So genetics proves, and now, like I said, they whirly birded me on so many topics that I'm easily able to go on, that I just need a refresher from getting my ass kicked when I even just showed up on here. And then now I have my, you know what I mean? My train conductor.
I never know what you mean, Tommy. Go off.
I gotta be honest, I'm lost.
Can somebody give me a recap of what happened?
Yeah, let's anybody recap the genetic manipulation.
We talked about quantum mechanics in the fifth
let me
dimension.
recap it. There was a useful conversation between Tic Tac, Melanie, Ghosty, and I. And then Tommy came in here, and I have no idea what you're fucking saying.
No. It was cymatic. You guys were talking cymatic.
Basically,
we're talking frequency, and God, and how cymatics works is there's a certain vibration that we all have, and
wait, we all have a vibration. What is
Like
that?
consciousness?
100%. It's very obvious.
Like consciousness?
I identify as 58 hertz.
Yeah, and for some odd reason, I hate, because now I'm nowhere near good enough to talk about what we are wanting to talk about. And I hope you guys know that I'm at least I'm kind of on board with what I hear what you're saying. And we do definitely all resonate at a certain thing. That's all a thing. So the quantum, when you guys say quantum, are we talking about 4 times as fast as something? Or just, because quantum is simultaneous.
No.
On a level we can't see.
Exactly. Well, it's just simultaneous.
Yeah.
Like right now,
Quantum means the smallest quanti. It's literally like it came from the idea that atoms were the smallest things. Oh no, they're not. Here's a smaller quantum than atoms.
and then it doubles, right? It's a
so
double.
I think they were talking
It's-
about
no, there's
on
no
a quantum
doubling.
level, things like won't act the same always. Like how
Okay, and then because now
So
I'm confused on why I
therefore-
brought it to genetics for some
and
reason.
our minds control the you guys
Yeah.
they were
That's
in a very
not a
deep
part of
No, it's
quantum
a thing.
physics.
It's a thing.
It's not
I
part of
did get
quantum
No,
it.
that's just my
I apologize.
that's my theory. That's just a theory or a
Okay.
hypothesis.
This
I
was
have.
his theory. So he
Yeah.
believes in free will, basically. That's
I
like
do
his-
believe in free will. There is a thing, but there is a certain. I think we are stuck in a personality. There's like 5 personalities. There's 5 looks. A lot of people look alike. A lot of people. It's fucking weird. It's very weird. I'm not joking. That's it all.
This is your best evidence? People look alike?
Are you not serious? How many different types of people do you think you see? And then why do if
I don't
this is
know.
gonna
What's the
trigger
connection?
everybody-
How does that prove free will?
Because it has to do with all that has to do with vibrations, and our shapes and our everything is
So he's
from
got a point.
frequencies.
This is how I can transform into a fox. Oh wait, no, I can't.
Yeah, no, you can't. But God, okay, go ahead. I will jump back in because I know.
Tommy, I'm just going to ask you this.
Go ahead.
Like, do you think that everyone truly looks the same, or do you think when you examine people who look the same closely enough, you'll find differences between them?
I'll say it like this: there's 5 at the most types of faces.
So do you think twins like make the exact same decisions?
That's
or?
what and I know that's
Kitchen
not
man
a thing.
Dan.
That's not a thing. I'm not saying that.
Why don't we just talk about fingerprints? Because that would be different for everybody.
You
yeah?
muted on your end, Dan.
Sure.
Is that like what
Oh,
you're?
hi, everybody.
So what I mean about
Thank you
free
for
will,
having me.
I could have swore when they were talking about free will, there was almost a the deterministic word.
Yeah. So I made the claim that anything.
Yeah,
Tommy, can I bring this in for a second? Just because you said you wanted a refresher, right? I said that anything that's deterministic, if you run it through a simulation, a hypothetically perfect simulation, you'll always wind up with the same result. Because
that's not true. That's not true.
That's the definition.
No, but randomness is not like, oh, it's all over the place, and it kind of just it's very causal.
You're doing the Pavlov's dog.
It's chaos. Yeah.
Chaos theory.
It's very no. It's like causal chains. Like it.
But then
I think people mix up the concept. Maybe I'm wrong. The concept of causal chains, randomness, and freedom. It's like they seem to mix the two up.
Okay, and
I think Melanie was just stating it is not an ought. So it's just saying like determinism, it means this, not necessarily it should be this way or ought be this way.
And it could be that like I'm partially deriving the definition from my programming background, where if you actually make a program like say like an animation that gives you the same thing every time, but it's procedural, then it's deterministic.
But a human, so are we talking about reality in the simulation that we live in? We definitely
yes. Do humans have free will? That's the question.
I think what Torshaa said made sense. Is that we don't want to confuse randomness here.
I can touch the top of my head. I can touch my nose. I did all those
what
things.
What made you hold the nose?
A lot of other factors were at play, which means it can't just be your thought to do it.
Someone earlier said like total free will. Yeah, I guess I can't argue with that. Like Prawn could take me down from here whenever he wants to. That's not my decision at all. But to my limits, I do believe I have free will. I could get up. I could dance around. I can do whatever.
Right, so we don't have free will. Right?
Prawn could take me down
to
from
an
here.
extent. To an extent, I feel like we do. Within our limits. Of course, I'm not going to be able to lift a 3,000-pound car. I'm just not going to. No matter what you say about free will, but to my limits and my extent,
can we double it? Just like without Dan and Tommy. Let's just finish this conversation as a speed debate, please.
Okay, so
we can if you want to challenge someone to a speed debate. I will allow that.
Speed debate, Tommy.
I guess I'd have to. I guess I have to speed debate Ticky Tack. And if we want to double it, then.
And if Ticky Tack loses, I'll leave.
I want to join up with Ghosty, and she can choose another opponent.
No, we're fine. I'm
speed debates.
I was just gonna explain kind of what we what it means when we say free will. Like, we're not saying that like you have the free will to like fly if you wanted to, but I think what determinists believe is that basically all of your decisions that you make are predetermined based on like your biology, your genes, and the interactions around you, like how you were raised and stuff. And so like if you were to redo it, you would pick like the same color shirt on the same day. You would like, you're saying things and you.
I guess I kind of can agree with that though. When King was saying there's almost 6 specific like personalities and each person's gonna fit into, I feel like stereotypes are kind of. That's
not actually how it works, by the way.
Well, Melanie, we all know I'm the lowest IQ panelist right here, right? So, like, give me a little bit. Give me a break.
I'm proud of you for being self-aware, at least.
God damn, Melanie. I'm trying.
No, Dan, you're operating with a lot of free will. I can tell.
I always
He's free will maxing right now.
I always do. That's I'm about to hit a I'm about to hit a bomb right now. This is free will, fellas. This is free will.
Are you
Well,
He's
sure?
about
Are
to
you sure
get
you weren't
blasted
determined
out
to
of
do
this
this
world.
That's
forever?
crazy. I've been holding on
Maybe
to
you
my
were
bong for
determined
like
to hit the
20
bong.
minutes, and now I suddenly just want to smoke it. It's so weird. Why? I don't wonder why that happened.
Boom.
I
Influence.
don't know if YouTube likes that, so just in
Influences.
case.
But external influences are not disproving free will.
Okay, so
Also,
now,
OpenC,
I-
what's that? What's that? What's
I
that?
turned my
OpenC,
mic off.
wait,
Go
wait,
ahead.
wait. 1 second, y'all. OpenC done. You're on stage, but there's no, we can't see you, but you are on stage. So if you want to talk, there's no more visible slots.
I
so.
can back out and smoke a cigarette real quick. Torshaa gets me.
No, it's fine. No, like he's here.
Super nervous.
Like he's just because he has no camera. It doesn't matter. You just can't see his portrait.
He's in the background
Mel
like
that got me
Ben.
nervous.
Ben be in the background talking. Who was Nova Star earlier? I'd like a little breakdown on Nova Star. That one was catching my eye right.
Later.
Why didn't you Why didn't you join the? Why didn't you call in to do the date stream, Dan?
Because listen, it was one after the other bad dates. Like they were all bad. Sarah kind of got thrown out of it because if I went up there, it would have been Ghosty, Sarah, and Nova. All give them all three. But Prometheus kind of ran that route. Prometheus kind of ran that route, and then he sat there and he was like, "Bruh, bruh."
They're all
I don't know.
swingers.
The most charming thing about Prometheus is he didn't make an actual idiot of himself.
Fair enough, but he
I thought it
also
was
didn't
'cause he was
do
15.
anything. He didn't do anything memorable.
Is he 15? No, he's not 15. Shut the fuck up.
He's not that. He's not
Obviously,
that
he's
young.
16.
Check.
He said D1
Okay.
college. We can
Anyways,
go off
the
what he
debate we
said.
were having.
Find out his D1.
Jesus
You can find
Christ.
us on the internet. Hold on, I'll talk to Dan.
Wait, shit, I was saying about the date stream. Wait, no, I gotta say one more thing about the date stream, because I had this theory, and I think it's true. It worked out one time. I think the best thing is we need to purposely have someone that's pretty good in the beginning, because like the person like that starts it off kind of sets the whole pace for the show. I've
The
noticed.
start of it all was Rod and Melanie, and like it
So,
was
yeah.
cool, but we could all tell neither Melanie, neither Rod is enjoying that. You know,
And well, Ryan
It
was
was a
fucking
debate.
drunk.
it was a debate immediately, and Rod's ugly shit. Sorry, Rod. Love you.
Honestly, if Melanie knew how to chill the fuck out, right?
True.
Like I gotta chill the fuck out often. And what it is,
Yeah, coming from you,
just-
that is actually very meaningful. You would know.
I'm being very serious. And so
Chill out together, y'all. Chill out together.
You need to exercise your free will. And
We're gonna have a big
relax.
chill session. A big chill
Wait,
session.
can you really choose to chill out? Do you really choose your emotions?
I love this.
If we're
I
gonna
get
bring
this
up
so deep.
chilling, who was abusing a wrench earlier? Who got a wrench taken away because they were abusing it earlier? Let's talk about it.
D-Dog,
Huh?
D-Dog.
I couldn't help it. Okay.
I guess.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
determined.
I don't know.
Go
Like,
ahead, Torshaa. Go ahead.
I'm just like,
Bring us back on rails.
just like if we had free will, don't you think people would behave correctly?
No.
No,
No?
that's the one way that people wouldn't behave correctly.
Okay, go
I
into
gotta-
it.
Because they
I
have a
wanna
choice
hear
not
you
to
go.
behave. No,
I
but like,
gotta
the,
agree with Melanie. I agree with Melanie on this. Go on, Melanie.
Go, Melanie.
but like the definition of good or bad behavior is defined by the array of behaviors we can do. If we only had like a predetermined set of behaviors, why would we have any need to define good or bad behaviors?
Also, like,
Mhm.
if you think if we were
Hold on, did
if it
anybody
was, like-
comprehend what she meant right there?
No,
Meaning,
it was
Did-
more abstract.
Yeah, I got
but
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
like
got
meaning
it.
like we don't know what's considered good or bad.
I'm just on another level, King. It's
a
fine.
real good thing.
No, we're
My
fine.
bad.
I got it.
just wanted
I
to-
got it, yeah.
That was a good.
I think if it was truly determinism, we would all have like the best and like just utter just best survival instincts.
But
And
my best
obviously
thing-
lots of us make like bad choices that end up like getting us sick and hurt, even though like we're making the choice to do something that's killing us. Like if we're like doing drugs or like going on doing something dangerous and stuff. And you would think
Isn't
if
Why
it was
would-
determined, we wouldn't be able to make those choices.
But what if dying?
I don't get
is-
that. Why just because it's determined? Why does it have to be the optimal decision?
Well, you'd agree
I
that there's
feel
a
like that
Sorry, go
plays into like adrenaline junkies and like I mean drugs are addictive because of
Desires.
the yeah.
Okay, I think
yeah.
I think
so
I think
it's
Ghosty
desire
should be able to
bad thing,
answer
like that.
unless she wants me to answer. But like,
Just from like an evolutionary standpoint, like if we're basing everything off of like life and survival instincts and evolution, like why would our bodies make bad choices for us?
So another way of putting this, by the way,
Well,
and you
I
can
asked
look
the
it
question.
up.
I'd like to respond to that, if that's cool.
No, I know you
another
would.
way
There's
of
something
wording
called the
it.
biological imperative, which is to survive and procreate as many times as possible. But we see people today not living by the
That
biological
way, dog.
imperative.
Other way.
That doesn't mean the desire is not there, though.
No, you don't believe
Well,
in
and
voodoo.
you guys are missing one. You guys are missing one thing. Evolution or natural selection only cares if you have a kid. So after that, they don't care about your health at all. Like even up to that point,
Right, but
if you
why
are
would
healthy enough
someone
to procreate? Then it's like, well, you did your job. Now that's why like people die horribly of old age because
why would someone who only arrived here? Why would someone
King,
who
what
only
is-
arrived
what is
here
the
as
book
part
that
of
you're
the
highlighting?
biological imperative?
Dan.
Holy
Alright.
shit!
Go
Why would
ahead.
someone who only arrived here as a result of the biological imperative not also follow the biological imperative? Wouldn't that be counter to determinism?
No, because again, it's randomness is not like
That's not
it almost
randomness.
feels, no, I know. I sorry, I misspoke. It almost sounds like you're supposed to get the same result after a similar action. Is that what you're saying? Like the
No,
parents
I realize what
thing?
you're saying now, that randomness shouldn't count, and I'm not falling back on that as much. But the biological imperative is something that both defines the optimal way to get through natural selection, just like objectively. And if we were like survival and reproduction maxing, that's what we would be doing. So since we come from that kind of like evolutionary background, why didn't we continue doing the evolutionary background?
That's a good question. I think probably because of maybe we shouldn't repopulate the species, and maybe that is more intrinsic than we think.
That was one of the best things I've ever heard.
So you're saying there's an
Being
ecological
consistent.
imperative that drives us at least equally as strongly as the biological imperative.
Well, there's other species that die out on purpose. I can't
It's
name
not on
one, but I do
purpose.
know
It's-
that to be
It's
true.
definitely
No,
not
it
on
is-
purpose. It's not. No.
Well, if
First of
you're
all,
taking
that's
it
a free will
literally,
argument. Yeah.
sure.
But
But
like
it's
a duck-billed platypus.
it's,
Is it
it's still
duck-billed?
it's still intrinsic. It's still intrinsic because on some level, right? But
Wait,
it's
do
not
we-
like a conscious thing.
I guess
Do we?
like
Go ahead.
that
Go
would
ahead.
make
Go see.
sorry, just real quick. I guess I'm like kind of taking back a little bit. Well, I mean, I don't even believe that, and well, that's why. Hold on, sorry, I just got confused. Yes, because if you have like addictive personality, like if you have an addictive personality that comes from somewhere, right? Or like you can be, I guess like things in your environment can make you make bad decisions. So I guess that could be an argument for
predisposed.
determination.
But here's
Yeah.
here's the thing though. I don't need there not to be internal or external influences to prove that we still have free will, because we can still make different decisions regardless of what the state of those internal or external influences are.
But
And
there's
that's
many
what makes
fixed.
us not deterministic.
I think it's just an
Can you
illusion.
demonstrate that, though?
I think we
Yeah.
think we know what the choice is, but really there's other factors at play. That's why I think the whole thing with like intent in a court of law is stupid. It's impossible to know because you'd have to point out the exact neuron that said, this is why I pulled the trigger. We can't do that. It's a collection and it's different for every person. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's the free will argument.
No, that's a because
Yeah.
there's
Okay,
something
maybe I'm
else
misinterpreting.
causing. No, you're good. It's because something else is influencing why you behave a certain way. It already disproves free will. Because
Well,
something
okay.
Right now-
else was at.
So
something
how
else was at play.
how multivariate can something become before like any one variable no longer matters?
It's
And the reason I'm
impossible to know.
Yeah.
We can't know.
well,
Not
well,
at
no,
this
but
level.
that's the
Or
thing.
that was the variable that just left.
So you're saying
I think
because
that-
of that, if that alone just right away should already
Yeah.
prove that free will is possible? Is that what you're
Well, no,
getting
because we're
at?
not fruit flies. Fruit flies
I
are
mean, we are. The
I
equivalent.
beg to differ. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Keep going.
No, it is.
Right? We're not fruit flies, meaning what?
Yeah.
we evolved to max out our free will for a reason, and that is it's,
So do
it
the
became
fruit
naturally
We
selectable.
don't operate just on instinct.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, what's different about us? Our consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah. And I do think, like, even though there are choices that we are more likely to make based on a lot of deterministic things, I think ultimately we do have free will when it comes down
Every
to it.
choice we
So there's
make
things
is to
we're
not
more
be in trouble.
likely, there's things we're way more likely to do based on our genes and circumstances But overall, I think we do have a choice based on consciousness.
What do you think? This is kind of out there, but what about this idea that where things are deterministic, but it actually was an evolutionary benefit for us to kind of perceive things as free will?
That means you have to believe in evolution.
Wait, that makes less sense than actual free will just being beneficial.
Evolution is
No,
not
it doesn't. It makes sense because
which is more plausible.
I'll tell you why. Because delusion provides benefits like lowering anxiety and other stressors, and one of the reasons
the delusion we go to is religion, not free will.
No, wait. Let me jump in here. Wait, the human brain's really good at deluding itself. Like, you can go like partially blind, and like you're like after a couple of weeks, like your eyes will readjust, and, like adapt to like your new vision, and like
meditation.
Even right now, like there's a lot of stuff like you don't realize like that things are not necessarily how you perceive them because your brains are really good at like kind of filling in the gaps and like filling in those holes.
Yeah.
Sure. So how come some people delude with religion and some people delude by believing in free will?
Those are two different. It's a false dichotomy or false equivalent.
We're both doing it to
cope.
We're both doing it to adapt, right?
Sure.
Like you said that
like OCD. Yeah, I get it.
So
why
again,
do we do that? Why is one okay and the other is like?
No, I'm not saying why one okay. No, I'm asking like they both seem to be in response to the chaoticness of the universe, not understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't, if we're deterministic, why wouldn't most brains just go towards religion? Especially if we haven't evolved yet.
Can't reverse the burden of proof. Can't do that.
Reverse the burden of. I don't understand.
When you're asking me to prove something when you made the claim.
Oh, sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
I'm missing a lot of these.
I'm just curious how that's supposed to work.
Why would it be necessarily true where if we're in a terminal system that people would be more religious, or is that what you're saying?
That means that your parents
it's irrelevant. You shouldn't answer
in the same line, just like the word religion is realigning. Right, the word religion breaks down to realign.
I think because you said our brain fills in the gaps and religion fills in the gaps. Maybe I don't know if that's what she meant.
Well, yeah, you said it's selectable because we needed delusion to adapt, but we already used delusion to adapt through religion. So why wouldn't that just be what our brains did? Why wouldn't we just evolve to be more and more religious?
Because we're going to use whatever delusion is best suited for us for whatever problem we want to solve. So sometimes religion is the best solution to use to solve the issue for a society. Sometimes it's something else. There's a bunch of
that kind of entail.
There's like not just two. There's
doesn't that kind of entail
it doesn't.
It kind of entails that like these things know how to solve these problems to begin with.
What do you mean?
What by these things? What do you mean?
Yeah,
well, when we evolve something, it's actually kind of random, right? It's not until we stumble upon a solution that we do things.
Evolution is random, but natural selection is not.
Random.
So what was the?
Well, are we talking about technological?
Oh my god!
Technological.
Oh my god! Oh my god! What was the
Jesus Christ?
Wait, no, let other people talk. You know,
I'm trying to have a conversation.
Well, I'm
with you
asking
right now.
you a difference. I'm asking for a
need to know
difference.
what you're
Technological or natural, because I do feel like there is a difference.
Holy shit!
There
Holy
is.
shit.
Okay, I was hoping you were going to add something that's not the best question to answer.
Yeah, it was a fine question.
So what is the overarching problem? What is the overarching universal problem that didn't go away, such that we had enough time to actually naturally select to be deluded by consciousness? Because the overarching thing about life was there's a fear of nature, there's a fear of weather patterns, there's a fear of things we can't control. So we needed religion to tell us how these things work.
Mm-hmm.
No, we blamed it on witches. And we blamed it on somebody.
Oh my God.
Let me address this. Wait, Melanie. Wait, let me address this.
That's like a really big deal.
It's actually the same. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, when the crops died out because of a rainstorm, they blamed it on the witch next door, and then they would go and try to kill her. It was like very, it's equivalent to like cancel culture today.
Right. So why not just keep doing that until all time?
We are.
At what point did we? At what point?
I think I can answer your question.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But Millie, I think actually it is the same mechanism, but they're answering different questions. So religion was like used to solve like why is the sun rotating around our planet. Free will was thought of like why does our brain work this way? Why do we think this way?
He's a flat earther.
I mean, you're the one that believes in free will. Why don't you tell us? Tell us why you think that it has to be true. Because right now we're having to defend it, but you're the
Yeah,
one
I think we evolved self-awareness because we literally evolved neurons that acted as short circuits
I
between
can't
our
use
memory and our self-perception. So I'd have a self-perception, and then my memory would reinforce that. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, that actually is me. But if my memory did not match my self-perception, then I'd have to address that conflict.
Do you think humans are the only species that has free will?
No, that's crazy.
I'm asking
Yes,
Mel.
actually. Yeah, I think most other species are deterministic because they are like
And
It's how you're
everything you said
observing their
before
nature.
is
by
negated.
their biological imperative. Thank you for letting me finish.
I think, and it could be different. I think it's all the same thing. It's just we're just way more complex. So it's like it seems more mysterious and like there's more to it. It's just there's just a lot more going on. Just we're just like slightly more complicated animals.
So
At
you'd
least that's my
agree?
perception.
You'd agree that humans are at least better at not having like certain, like let's say like females are better at not having the lordotic reflex in response to the smell of a male and who's especially.
I don't know what that is.
Well,
Another way of
one, I
putting
do
it-
know what she's talking about. I do know exactly what she's talking about.
Thank God.
And the simple fact that you bring that up to not know, we have no idea if another species has the same sound that we have. We have English that's blatantly doesn't make any sense, correct? We all can agree that English language is super confusing. Just because I have no...
It's one of the hardest languages to learn.
I have the lack of a way to even dictate myself, right? And so we have them stipulations, and to think that animals and or anything else doesn't have the same energy, because there is a certain, like, there's a certain thing even through whatever, where there's a vibration or whatever that goes through that resonates different from person to person, thing to thing, and that resonates to a level that is animalistic, we could say, right? So right there, it's just, I get so lost with half the shit you say, Mal, and I'm not being rude to you, and I do respect the way that you boss the line.
Anyways, PRAWNCESS, thank you for walking through me with that.
Well, just from speaking from a purely like biological sense, vast majority of animals don't even really have a developed prefrontal cortex,
That's
which is where
bullshit that we have no idea.
no, we do.
Yeah, we do.
There's the except
Because we can open up their brains. We can dissect animals.
there are
Your
two.
eyeball sees upside down, and your retina turns it in your brain.
Can you let him talk?
No, just I want to know. Do they think that we see upside down, and then because our eyeballs work a certain special way, it flips it and we see it?
Well, no, it's just an interpretation of the brain. Like they even have flip. Can you?
What I'm asking.
Come on, just quit talking over me. So even on your visuals, they did testing where they reversed people's vision with goggles, and eventually the vision corrected itself to view everything upright. And as they took them off, their vision was reversed again. It's all just trickery of the mind. But going back to the whole prefrontal cortex thing, is that the only two animals on the exception is dolphins and elephants, as far as I know, and maybe octopuses. And that prefrontal cortex is very important in having like deductive reasoning, the long-term memory associations, logic, things of that nature.
Passing the mirror test.
What were them three animals, real quick?
So there's elephants, dolphins.
Okay.
Yeah,
there was
an octopus.
Water on it. So water animals. We have no idea how that works.
Elephants are not water animals.
Yeah, I know. I said two of the three.
Well,
We do know a bit about animal brains.
I mean, manatees are kind of like water elephants.
Let me try to defend a little bit.
Letting you know
Let me try to because I'm just hearing. Okay, our brains are more complicated. I don't know why it means. Therefore, free will has to exist.
It doesn't mean that anybody's bigger.
No, I'm not making an argument on that. I'm just saying that there is like an extra layer we do need to consider, in that animals really only think about what's in front of them at the moment.
No idea what
PRAWNCESS. When did we start passing the mirror test before mirrors existed?
Probably.
The answer's
What do you mean?
Wait, let me just. I mean, I'm curious about the point you're trying to make. But like to me, wait 1 second, fucking King, wait. All the points you're making, because I agree with what Tiki said, but to me that shows that free will is like less. It's probably even less available because we're just more complicated, more so. So therefore, free will to me, free will would mean like things would be more simple. It'd be easier to achieve free will if that was the case. Whereas way more complexity, to me, that means free will is less likely. If it makes any sense.
Yeah, I think I was just going a little bit more on a tangent than anything else. I don't think it necessarily proves one way or the other.
I can apply this.
I think it is a good point. Like saying that we've evolved to have consciousness and be able to reason and logic is evidence of having free will, like reasoning and logic. Whereas like animals, they go off of purely instinct. And
what makes you say
we're
that?
obviously much different than animals.
I think
Because
they definitely are different.
an animal, you can like predict their behavior based on like studying them, and they do it off of survival instincts. Like I don't know, like with humans, you can't tell.
You're
humans can
literally doing the
deceive-
exact same thing.
Humans can
as
deceive and
animals.
manipulate and trick
So,
people, where
King,
like
that's
animals
what-
will do it for survival. Go ahead.
But let me know if y'all disagree. I actually think humans are actually very predictable.
They're predictable.
Yeah.
Well, if that's
Yeah,
the
they
case,
are
then
to a degree.
neuromarketing wouldn't be an entire field of study.
What?
No,
It
like
would or would not be.
that's on our side because everybody's being manipulated beyond their control with their obsession with phones. Like that comes from being enticed by marketing that draws you back
Yeah.
in.
That's
So at
from
some point,
understanding,
But
primate-
that
like,
was a learned
the
behavior from
humans as a
certain
whole, but
color.
not
Well, if it's a
individual
learned
humans.
behavior, why would they keep it in the environment if they know
On
that's how we
purpose.
behave with it? Because we
On
want to
purpose.
keep it because
Yeah.
some of us have
Yeah.
self-control.
Yes,
Sorry.
very on purpose.
Go ahead.
All of it's very on purpose.
I
And
just,
I'm
I
not
mean,
trying to-
individually,
No,
though,
Let's let Ghosty get in here. Let's let Ghosty get in here.
I just think like humans, obviously we're a species, so like you can understand us, and that's why I'm a compatibilist, because I do think there are things that are predictable about us and that, you know, can make us predictable, but like overall we are individualists. So as like a species, maybe you could say, oh, this person's gonna get thirsty after 8 hours because they have to drink water, right? Or people like to do this thing because it gives them dopamine in their brain or sets off serotonin or something, like with this flavor or something. But individually, I feel like we're not so predictable with things like past that on a biological sense, if that makes sense.
That's the
Thank
part.
you. And I'll let you all respond. But King, I'm gonna give you a second because
I don't
asked you
need
for
it.
pissed
I
off.
don't
Wait,
need it.
King,
Warren,
wait,
I understand what
wait.
you're doing.
Just
You're
let me
the
ask you this
super
fucking
racist.
It's a simple question. I don't even know what your fucking stance is yet. Where do you fucking land on this? Are you you free will person or not free will? You keep going these rants. I still have no idea what you actually
TK?
believe. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't think there is. It's a mixed boat. You know, maybe I don't know. What I was looking for was a human conversation where somebody could understand that maybe there is free will with some shit. Meaning, I don't know genetically. Some shit's predetermined. Because they say Leos, Scorpios, Virgos all act a certain way. Am I lying by this?
Hell yeah.
Everyone knows somebody that is one of these signs, and they honestly have the same personality traits.
So you agree that certain personality traits are observable in other situations?
That's what I was about to get to. Did you see how I
So
was
it's more
talking?
deterministic.
Yeah,
I would
I
say
was-
astrology falls
Let's
more
let
on
King finish because we've been
determinism.
yelling at over.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I wasn't done. What I'm trying to say is there's blatant ways to where there is certain things that are, and with that simple thing, there is only, I'll say 15 different boxes. But we all feel like we're 16 million different people, right?
King, so
But,
I'm
you
a
know-
Cancer. I have a question for you. I'm a Cancer.
Yeah,
so
you
how
are
come
a
I act
Cancer,
like a Virgo?
Just kidding, that was a super-
How come I
Oh,
act like a
God, King,
Virgo
go
when
on.
I'm on here? How come I act like a Virgo when I'm on here?
What do you mean? You are one. Don't ask me that question if you are not being genuine.
I am being genuine.
will never
No,
ask that.
I'm being
I will never
genuine.
talk like that.
I know what a Virgo is. I know what they act like.
No. And anybody I respect you, Melanie. And that was
So here's
a
how
very
this
weird
conversation
question to
would have
ask.
gone if King wasn't weird. he would
What
have
do you
said, well,
mean?
that's probably your rising sign then. And I'd be like, no,
No,
my rising
you
sign is
are-
Aquarius. And then I'd have to point out that it's
Listen,
not very deterministic
listen,
if you
listen,
can't
no, it's
predict
not.
what I am.
That's crazy. That's crazy. To
Let's
ask
let King respond to that.
Well,
part.
yeah, just
You guys
kind
know
of like
it.
neurons
You
in the
guys
brain when there's multiple
Holy
different
shit,
ones at play for the
subject
same
matter.
action. I guess
That's
it's the same
dumb.
thing as the rising and
That
moon
makes
shit.
us less
What do you
deterministic.
guys mean?
No, that's more
Are you
deterministic.
people being
It's
serious?
on a
More
linear.
neurons equals more determined. So more
Jesus.
degrees of freedom.
A he
Can I just
So
make a
again,
point, right?
again, you're conflating the two
Alright.
though, because I already said in the beginning that it's not the same as freedom. People
I'm not
often
saying,
do.
I'm going to ask you though, wouldn't it be more likely that if we had more degrees of freedom, that we would have some form of free will? Just more likely, more plausible.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That,
Yeah.
What is, wait, what is
But that-
freedom in this scenario? I think
Freedom is
I feel like I can't answer
degrees
this
of
yet.
freedom
Any more
are
information?
basically variables. How many variables are in the multivariate equation?
But yeah, we'll never know that though.
Oh my God. All I'm saying is that the more there are, the more
Higher
likely
level
it is
thinking.
that we have free will.
Yeah, but if in a
But the
real
thing
world,
is,
like, you could
they're
only have
not
one
the
determined
same.
path.
They're not the same.
Also, this also gets weird if you like incorporate the multiverse, where like there could be actually one determined
That's
path, but unlimited versions of that. Yeah.
Well, on a different, like when people talk about dimensions, they're technically all following the same laws, which always fucks me up. Always. I think that's
What?
the
Is
quantum
that true?
thing.
There's no
yes,
way.
100% true. I was just writing about
Yeah.
it today.
All
The
laws.
same laws of physics.
It really fucks me up. Yeah, like natural laws and something else. I was like, wait,
How do
but
we
then
know-
what?
how do
What
we know
makes
that?
what makes it a different dimension? You know what I mean? Like the
to be
dimension.
clear,
Like
I
I
was
would
just
think
bringing
it's
that up as a
unknown.
Wait,
thought
dimensions and
experiment.
multiverses.
I don't
are
actually
different
believe
too.
that that's how
Well,
the
you're-
fifth dimension works.
I'm thinking of like string theory and versus
Oh,
the
that
other
sucks.
thing.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I think string theory's like kind of been severely debunked and not popular in the science community anymore.
Uh-oh.
It wasn't wrong. It's just like it's kind of like a dead end. Is how
There's a
how
lot
I
of
read it.
unknowns in the quantum world right now.
I heard it went very out of fashion. That's what I watched a YouTube video
Oh
about it.
no. Oh no. Yeah, I haven't heard about it.
Oh no.
I
Oh
don't
no.
know.
Oh no no
But
no no.
take us
no.
back on track. I think I'm open to not being completely deterministic. I still can't conceptualize free will, especially the complete free will, because to me, like
Right.
at worst, it's like things are so random and so chaotic.
Do you know
where,
what
like, you just don't
subtractive
have any
synthesis
control
is?
anyway?
What was that?
I'm going to assume you don't know what subtractive synthesis is because hardly anyone does. It's
Me?
it's actually a subtractive synthesis.
synthesis.
Oh, I thought I was asking if you were talking to me. Go ahead.
I'm going to assume that everyone here does it because I'm just going to go straight into explaining it. It's where you take noise in a synthesizer and you actually filter out for different frequencies until you get a sound. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this kind of goes towards Tiki-Tack's quantum argument, whereas for me it's more at a molecular chemistry level. But what happens is that ultimately a lot of what you're talking about, all these variables amount to noise. But then what the brain does is it filters out that noise for particular functions. You might call this sensory gating. There's all sorts of things that you could call it. But at the end of the day, it's very similar to the subtractive synthesis we see in synthesizers. Now the problem is if that synthesis always gave the exact same results, then our brains doing this would also give us the exact same results. But what we see actually is that because there's noise behind it, you can still see that in the sine wave that you filtered out at the end of the day. There's still some noise in that signal.
I think
this is
keep going.
Yeah, and so what I'm getting at though is that like a lot of functions in our brain start as noise and end as these kind of like very formatted signals, but you still see some what's called hysteresis, which is like a time effect that can't be removed because it's always still there. It's part of the system, and that hysteresis is part of where I think free will comes from. Because another way of putting this is if I move forward along a street, but I can't go back the same way, all those other paths that I can take to get back become infinite. I've gone from having one path to an infinite amount of paths between 2 points. So it's kind of the same way in the brain. We very much don't like having the same thought over and over again. We like having new thoughts the next time we think about something.
I disagree. We have
Really?
bias.
Okay, so what about TV shows?
Bias.
What about TV shows? What about TV shows? Do you watch the exact same TV episode every single time, or do you get excited?
Do you know how
do you get
common
excited?
tropes
Do you
are?
get excited when a new TV show comes out?
I don't own a TV personally, but just to
Oh
like
my
play
God!
with the hypothetical, just to play.
I think it's a bad idea because like
A lot of
movies-
people rewatch
media
Friends.
just is literally made of tropes. Like you can literally source everything back to something.
No, but
Something
here's
else.
the thing, right? Like,
Desires are different. Desires are
get
what I
diminished
think people are
returns.
confusing free will with.
But you get diminished returns on the same thing. Our brain literally hates taking the same path twice, especially on a neural level.
You're wrong.
Because-
Like
no, I'm not. Wrong. Let me finish. I'm going to explain neuroscience to you. No, I'm going to. So there's something called action potential. There is something
Argue against my point I'm gonna make.
potential in neuron.
The
Process,
hero's
shut the
journey
fuck up,
will
I'm not
all-
done. Process. There's something
Go
called
ahead.
action potential, and when a neuron fires an action potential, it can take a very length of time and all sorts of things to refire a new action potential. And what's more important is it's incredibly unlikely, it's statistically improbable that the next action potential will be the same as the last. We know this because we hook neurons up to birds and we watch them make the same call over and over again, but there's always differences in the signal.
Yeah, but sorry.
Well,
even
I was- can I jump in
even
real
our
quick?
neural patterns are not determined.
I wouldn't even disagree with that. I think none of this actually connects to how like people actually pragmatically think and like our brains. I think these are probably disconnected.
Okay, I'm just saying, look up history.
What's that
It'll
noise?
blow your mind.
Well, why is something
OPC,
like-
we can hear you, but we got some background audio.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
muting
like,
you.
I get what you're saying about all the. Ew, I can hear myself.
OPC, you gotta keep yourself muted until you fix your audio. Sorry.
What about when people mistaken?
Do I still hear shit?
Why?
That was so
like,
weird.
what do you think about
we're good.
people that mistaken somebody with a cell phone as having a gun and then they pull out their gun and shoot them because that's a threat? That's like the
Wait,
same
I tried to bring this-
mechanism.
Wait,
I'm a little
Hold on, it's the
lost.
same.
Sorry.
It's the same mechanism though.
Wait,
So like in neurons, you can have the same types of neurons in other parts collected with other neurons that
but
give
isn't
you.
that in favor of free will? That like I can see something that's not actually there. Like my sensory isn't directly linked to the output of my brain.
No, it is linked.
No, but you're saying that someone could have a cell phone in their hand, but I'm still going to perceive a gun.
Yeah, based
anything,
on
that's-
trauma, based on your experience, based on
But I can
what
also
it might look like.
but here's
Cops
what's
do this
interesting.
all the time.
But here's what's also interesting, right? I can take
Before we
a
get to
pause.
can I address something that came up like 2
Especially
minutes
if
ago?
I've been in that before. No, I want to respond to Torshaa, please. I can pause and
I
take,
got interrupted too.
and I can make the decision because I've been in this position before and I learned that acting on my trauma was wrong. And I can make the decision, you know what, I don't want to act on my trauma. We're not deterministic in this sense. You might still have the trauma response, but how you actually
motivation.
behave can be different.
I think it's motivation, and that's an area that I would love to go into. That's definitely something that disproves. Well, it's not that it disproves determinism, but it's really up in the air that I would like to get
Which
into.
is more important for motivation, hormones or brain structure?
Both. 100%.
No, I said more important. I said more important. You have to pick one.
Hormones.
Okay, good. We're on the same page there at least. We both watched the Polsky, of course.
Yeah. Duh.
All right, I'm gonna forget about this because I think you just said something patently false. Like I understand like your theory, but like people like the same stories all the time. The hero's journey has been told for
The Bible.
as long as our basic history, and will continue to be
Yes,
told
but they
until
like
we
the
probably
same story
perish.
told differently. They don't like the same story told the exact same way
They
over
do
and over
the
again.
Bible.
It's
the
like
Bible
a
needs
different
changing.
coat of paint on the exact same like product.
Right,
though.
you can say that about the Bible, but look how many versions of the Bible there are.
That's what I was agreeing with you. I said there's so many different versions of the
Oh,
Bible.
okay.
I
I
was
thought you were
agreeing
saying
with
like,
you.
the Bible is us saying this
No.
thing, which and like it goes both ways. I'll admit that much. We're not like totally. We need everything, every little detail to be different every single time, right? Like we do watch stuff on repeat.
I think it's
partly for
I
nostalgia.
think it's not
but-
that. If anything, if you made TV completely new, that would not be satisfactory TV.
Oh, I agree.
Wait,
Yeah,
being- just being novel would
too
not be good.
unfamiliar.
It has to-
yeah, it
yeah.
has to be familiar. I agree.
Okay, I
Just
agree.
'cause there are like biological
Squashed.
things that it acts on. No, it's not squashed. Fuck you.
I meant that part.
Oh, the beef. The beef is squashed. Yeah.
OPC
Sorry,
Dom, do
everyone
you want to
else
try to
won.
get in here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
OPC, hello.
Yeah.
Hey, I really
Wow.
do want to
All right,
talk to you
wait,
first.
OPC,
But
wait.
Have you ever heard of headphones before? Holy
Yeah.
shit!
Can you just get some headphones, OPC? This happens every
No,
time.
you're playing the video on YouTube in the background. In a
all right,
link.
hang on.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm gonna
dear
mute you
God,
until-
he's,
yeah,
he's
sorry.
got the StreamYard curse too. I can hear it.
Oh no.
Maybe they'll both fix this. He Drop Buddy's gonna come back. Back to
Ghosty,
free
you
will.
gotta-
I don't
Ghosty,
know.
you got to carry
Ghosty,
this
you wanna jump
discussion
in?
for us.
I
Curious.
have a good question. What like
go
do you
for it.
think operating in a world with free will and the concept of it causes more harm or no? You don't think so?
I think it causes more with
I
free
agree.
will.
Like people want to cling to this notion so badly, but in the end, more people are harmed because of it. More people that are mentally ill, more people that are disabled, more people that have
Well-
things going on that are beyond their control. Maybe they were in an accident and they do a behavior that's deemed morally not good and they get punished for it. And I just think it's so inhumane. So I was just curious your thoughts on why you think it's maybe better to operate with free will, Melanie, for society.
Oh, just because like if you look at all the like the aggressive impulses people get just naturally, as a part of the biological imperative, whether it's for, social interactions or sexual even, then you see that it's better that we can choose not to act on them. And I think that decreases violence.
So the fact that people have a propensity to criminality or they do something against the law, doesn't that mean that laws are not really deterring them from the action?
You're talking to a leftist who agrees with you for different reasons, though.
I'm just saying. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I'm saying that, like the criminal justice system is terrible.
I think people would behave regardless, though. I don't think laws are going to deter them. I think they would behave anyway.
I think laws deter a lot of people from doing crimes.
No, I personally don't think there's like evil, so I'm a fringe.
At the very least, it changes the way people do crimes.
What they think about it. I think people that have pro-social behaviors or whatever, they're going to be pro-social. And then you have your people that are more anti-social or have propensity to criminality. They're just going to behave poorly.
You know that the actual difference is that pro-social people commit more white-collar crimes and anti-social people commit like just
blue-collar
type crimes.
I don't know if you want to make that claim right now because I would put them all in the same category of bad.
Well, that's really easy because the connotation of antisocial is that it's evil. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that we actually observe.
I didn't say
antisocial and pro-social. Yes, you did.
No, you. I said pro-social behavior and a propensity to criminality. It's like specific.
Okay, well, that's
antisocial gets. That's another. That's we got to go into
criminality. Like
somebody that's going to be aggressive has more maybe testosterone is
you know that like antisocial is the opposite of pro-social though, and that's why I was thinking you made that dichotomy.
I don't know if I would say they're the direct opposite, if I'm being honest, but it seems obvious
you just weren't
that it would
to
be
dichotomy. That's all.
Yeah.
I want to change
my answer. I actually think determinism might lead to a worse world because then we're not putting any responsibility on anybody. So you can make a bad decision and then be like, oh, well, it's not my fault. I was always determined
they would have
to
done
do
it
this
anyway.
and I can't help it.
They would have
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. There's tons of bad decisions I can make, right? Like if I wanted to, there's tons of bad decisions I can make right now that I'm not going to because I know the consequences of them. I could still choose to do it, but
sure.
So
that's definitely a take.
Wait,
but
you can still have consequences in a determinist society, though.
You can, but if one of the big components I think of what makes people determinists and not determinists is like either you believe in the concept of evil, like people having maybe the propensity to criminality gets often told as evil, but I think everything's a mental illness, all of it, everything. So like I think that you can assign that when somebody does a bad behavior, and instead of throwing them in a jail where they're just going to get worse, we're going to end up paying more and whatever, we could rehabilitate. But a lot of people don't want to spend the money to do that because it's expensive.
I understand
Did
what
you
you
know
mean.
that economics are actually a bigger factor than mental
Wait,
health?
you just cut off.
criminality?
You cut off Ghost. So let's
What do you mean
finish.
by that?
Just
Sorry.
really quick, sorry, Ghost, but
Mhm.
like if I were to predict outcomes for somebody to figure out who's going to be more of a criminal, their economic status in life I'd be more correct to predict their outcomes than
You
if
believe in
they're
free
mentally
will.
ill.
You believe in free will.
Yeah, that's
So
why I was saying predictability, predict their outcomes.
Okay,
So
but
statistically speaking,
what are you going to go
I
off
get it
of?
right more if I predict that the lower income person is going to commit crime versus the higher income, as opposed to predicting that the person with mental illness is going to commit crime versus the person who doesn't. That's not a good predictor of criminal outcomes.
No, but it's a really good predictor for odd behavior, abnormal behavior. Maybe not violent.
That wasn't the goalpost you had, right? So
No, that's the
sounds like you're
exact same.
backtracking.
No, I'm not. It's exactly the same thing. If not, I clarified it more.
No, now it's more vague.
Why? What are you?
Behavior.
Wait, okay.
Criminal
hold
behavior
on.
is way more specific than weird behavior.
Oh, like abnormal behavior, like people
Yeah, that's way less
acting and
specific.
but I said violence specifically.
Neurotypical.
But
behavior?
no, I said
Criminal
violence, and
behavior is
I say that
defined.
very specifically because I have relatives with very severe mental illnesses. I always say the violence. I make that like distinction.
Yeah, but you can't predict violence from somebody based on that either, actually.
You sure you want to make that claim?
Yeah, and I can guarantee you that just because I've had experiences with people. With
I'm not
mental health
talking
who are
about
more,
just my experience.
Yeah, so I'm telling you right now that if you look in society, the people who are most likely to commit violent crime are not the people with mental illness. It's the people
Or
who are
maybe
in
because you
domestic
don't
partnerships.
recognize it.
It's the people who are in domestic partnerships with a gun, by the way.
How is it? I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Yeah, it is.
Do you have the stat or where
Yes,
you got
from
it
Harvard.
from? Okay. Do you
Just
know
to
the
clarify,
year
you're not
just so
saying
I
that's-
can look it up later? Because I should
Just to
brush
clarify,
up on
when those
that.
both be factors, like
I was going to
they're
send
both
it.
gonna be, they're both gonna have some effect. Just there might be different percentages. But obviously, someone's mental health might have an influence on like how they're going to act, and maybe it might lead to them being more violent than an average person. I could see
Right,
that.
Yeah,
but
but
you
it
can't
goes
make that
against
as a
her
general
world.
statement.
Yeah,
knowing
it
that
goes
there's
against
so
her
many different
worldview,
types
though.
of mental illnesses.
Yeah, for sure. But my worldview accounts for that. Yours doesn't.
It
I want to
doesn't?
make that clear. Yes. Do you think that people are really getting insanity pleas when they need them? Seriously.
Wait, how does my worldview not account? I need to explain it a bit more.
Like today, like I'm saying in this world today, do you think that those that have mental illness are really being granted that insanity plea that they probably deserve, but because people want to, I don't know.
I
they're
just
more-
don't understand where you're going with this.
because what I'm saying is that like in my worldview, we account for the mentally ill. In your worldview, we often don't. And so when you compare them just on that one scale, obviously there's multiple metrics. I'm sure you and I would agree on that. But on that one metric, I account for the mentally ill. Yours kind of doesn't.
So again, when we actually look at crime statistics and we can't why can't I think of the word? We filter out everything that isn't disability. We don't see a big difference in outcomes between people who have mental illnesses and who don't. What we do see a big outcome differences is in people who are poor versus people who are not. So what I'm saying, you might account for that. There's many ways that you can account for mental illness, and one of them isn't like glossing over and generalizing statistics.
I'm not general. I haven't generalized anything.
Yes, you are. When you say
Let's
mental illness is a
get in here.
factor, you're not pointing to particular mental illnesses. You're saying all mental illness.
I said the mental illness that is violent. That's very specific.
There is no mental illness that is violent. That is not.
I could give you many of them, but I don't want to go down that road. I don't think that's like conducive.
So would you say that's the majority of mental illness, or do you think that
no,
it's kind of weird
of course not. But it accounts for them because right now they just get thrown away in the fucking what do you call it? Solitary confinement.
It's a fringe minority, and so it's better to say people.
I would argue that most people that partake in violence in some regard are operating in a similar fashion. I think it's all on a spectrum. I think you're doing that
inductively. I don't think you're seeing data.
No. And maybe I've been looking at.
Can I ask a clarifying question, Mel? Do you disagree that maybe if a lot of people in prison had like better mental health care, they might not have ended up in prison?
I can't say no, because again, we actually don't see that many people with mental illnesses in prison. We see a disproportionate amount, but
No.
it's not more than half. So
Wait,
no, the
well,
majority
hold
of
on.
people would
It's
not be helped.
Hold on, Melanie. It's because
Counseling maybe, but like treatment for mental illness, no.
we don't account for it when people go to jail. That's an issue.
Do you think we're
But
do you think we're
statistically we do.
Do you think we're
Like,
No,
probably
we-
screening
there's
everyone
no
that's in
because-
prison?
different.
If you want to go into competency tests, I'd be happy to do that with you. But I'm telling you right now, they're not looking for these things. They're
Well, it's
moving
not-
towards it, but they're
that-
not
that's
looking
Ghost,
for
yeah,
them.
let's Ghost, please get in here.
Problem,
Yeah.
though, like just because someone maybe doesn't deserve to be in jail because of an action that they like couldn't control, like they're violent because
I'm
of
not
some.
saying absolve them though, but keep going. I'm listening.
But that's what I'm saying. Like being a free will person
OPC
and
audio.
saying not giving somebody a insanity plea, even if though maybe they deserve it. That's not really the factor there. It's just a safety factor. Like,
I'm
we
just
can't
saying
have
that
these
under
people-
Sure. I'm just saying under both like worldviews, like outcome wise, right now in today's society, those that should get an insanity plea don't. And then that means
Why
that they
is
would
that,
be
though?
sent to a hospital instead of a jail. It's a
Okay.
difference. They should be in like a mental institution. Some would argue
Okay.
that's, I don't know.
Okay, I see what you mean. The other thing, I kind of forget now. It was about like the mental illness thing. I see
Responsibility or something.
I see like mental illness as kind of more characteristics. I think we characterize a lot of different personality types as mental illnesses, and they develop because of the environment we're in. So somebody who has like anxiety today, maybe they wouldn't have had it in like the 1800s or like in a different part of the world or something like that. It's like developed based on our environment. So I forget where I was going somewhere with this conversation, but I forget. It was,
Like, can
5
we
minutes ago.
like if we couldn't really account for mental illness in the past like we would today, should it still matter? Something like that? Because it's like it's more new. I don't know.
No, I forgot.
I feel like you
forget
had
now.
something good though. You were going with something. I was like, damn it.
I'm
What's your
sorry
point?
I'm sorry for getting into Torshaa, getting into it with
Oh, no,
Torshaa on
it's
that.
fine. No, you're good. You're good.
No, you're good. If
I
you
do
want
wanna
to keep
ask-
going.
I do want
Yeah,
to ask
you're
Melanie
good.
a question, but I don't want to derail it.
No, go ahead.
It's kind of went back to something earlier, but I'm curious, Melanie, how you would kind of feel about this or address this. How do I phrase this question? Do you think someone like let's say a black person's like born in America in like a poor neighborhood, do they have the same ability to make the same decisions as like a white person in a wealthy neighborhood? Or do you think maybe because of their environment, they might be taking down different paths? Does that make sense?
I think
From
she
an
brought up
ability
white
standpoint, yeah, that's like it's just a difficult thing because like from an ability standpoint, they can still make the same decision. From an outcome standpoint, they may not have the same opportunities.
So that's why I call it factors. So everything in your life is a factor into the equation of your will. So like again, like your genes, your upbringing, the economy you grew up in, whether you went through trauma, blah blah blah. All these things are factors into the likeliness of what decision we will make. So it's like you're more probable to make this decision if you grew up this way, but you also, I believe, still have the choice ultimately, but it's going to be harder, or like the odds are more stacked against you. But
And
I
to
guess
clarify,
like,
just-
nothing
just-
to prove
Really
it.
quick, I think I'm on board for that. To me, that does not sound like free will. That's all.
Something,
Well,
something
no, that's
that
compatible. That's why I'm
Yeah.
a compatibilist. That
Mhm.
I believe
Some-
they're compatible.
Maybe I am. Yeah.
something that's confusing me is like if somebody believes in free will, how can they also advocate for equity, or do you only advocate for equal opportunity or equality, if you
Yeah,
will?
equal opportunity.
So you
And-
don't believe in equity, though?
Well, I don't believe it just exists. No.
No, I'm not asking about its existence. I think
But
I'm
should you try to
saying, do you
achieve it?
think we should try to achieve it?
Yeah.
So then that contradicts itself, don't
No, it
you
doesn't.
think? Yes, it does.
Wait, how so?
Because equity is like equal outcomes, if you will. So that means that
But not the same outcomes. It just
No,
means that
I
they're
know.
not
I know.
they're not
I
like
know.
economically different.
For sure. No, I'm just saying that if somebody's going to advocate for free will, you acknowledge that we have choice over the actions we pick, right? But
Sure.
there's there's institutions that will make it so it's maybe not fair for some people, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if you wanted it to be equitable, what we would have to do is get rid of
People's free will? Yeah, we already do that.
true. True. But I mean, like, if you want to have this model of blame and punishment, then you're dictating what behaviors are okay under
Why
whoever
can't
wants
it
to
be a model?
dictate it. Do you understand what I'm saying, though?
You're just framing bothers me because, like, why can't it be a model of responsibility and accountability?
Well, that's that too. But somebody's
can
got
have
to
both.
say who's
Or you have a little bit of
at,
both.
at the fault of the crime. It's the same thing.
No, but
Well,
then here's the
it's
thing: like, you want to
included.
blame, you just want to blame mental illness. I
I'm not
obviously admit it's a
I'm not
factor,
blaming
but I
them.
also can I can blame society as a whole.
Hold
for
on,
many
I
of their
don't
outcomes.
blame. That's the thing is I don't blame in my worldview. I understand that there were things
How
probably.
convenient.
I don't think that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
think it's
It's more
the hard
that's a good
part,
point. Yeah.
the hard part is going through the various variables that may lead to someone's responsibility or this responsibility of a community. It's just easy to write it off as
How
like,
is,
oh,
But no,
how is
like,
it
this person didn't have
hold
a
on?
choice.
How is
Yeah,
it
go ahead.
absolving somebody of responsibility if I'm saying that we should
No, it's
rehabilitate
absolving
instead?
you of responsibility to actually
Me?
treat people as someone who's affected by more than just determinism.
Want to ask me
But
that
why would he-
again? That made no sense. With all due respect,
It doesn't make sense that you're absolving yourself of the responsibility.
I never said that.
of
I
treating
literally
people.
repeated it. That no, I didn't.
Okay, but still, that's the effect of what you're doing. Like,
No,
you might
it's
not
not
agree,
how
but it's okay.
No, but I've clarified it more than once, even earlier in this, not just with you.
Wait, are we still hung up on me saying the mental illness thing? Because I'm just talking about like in
It
general.
sounds so. Maybe you can clarify if I'm wrong. It sounds like you think that I'm trying to attribute or blame somebody's mental illness on why they did something, and I don't blame.
No,
I'm
I just misspoke with the
understanding.
like. I just spoke with the
This
you
passion.
blame it all on mental illness thing. That was just misphrasing on my part, and that was wrong. No, I what I'm trying to say though is that it's like if I didn't want to have to come up with a system with complex ways of dealing with people case by case, and I just wanted to write it all off as, you know what, this is going to happen anyways, then I'd be a determinist. But I don't believe that
I
humans.
totally disagree.
No,
No.
that's
With
a
determinism,
really
you mean
straw
your
man.
analysis. Wait,
Yeah,
so
Wait,
I think free will.
so if you're not a
free will is-
determinist,
wait,
why
wait,
would you
let-
do
no,
anything?
I'm answering your
If
question.
you're not a
No.
determinist,
Let me
why
tell-
would you?
you just made a
if
point.
you're a
Let me address it,
determinist,
please.
well, let me ask a question just so we can keep it succinct. If you're a determinist, why do anything to change outcomes?
We can control our behavior. We can control our environment. That's what people really get wrong about determinism. We can understand, hey, we have these things in our environment. Let's ban that. Get rid of this.
Sounds like free
just
will
so
to
it's
me.
up. Right, it
No,
does.
no,
I'm going to
I-
convince her to be a fucking
I
determinist. I
understand
already
exactly
know.
what you're saying, but so you think that you can create an ideal world essentially. And like with free will, you really can't create an ideal world. And the deterministic view, you could essentially create like an ideal world where everybody makes the right decisions and behaves perfectly based on how
I don't see it that
they're
way.
raised
No.
and stuff.
No,
Well, isn't that what you're saying?
no.
No, it is a
Because
logical
you're saying
conclusion.
we can control the environment. That's what you're saying.
So
that people don't
determinists,
act that way.
yeah. So determinists understand that there's certain factors in our environment and environment in general that affect our behavior. So if we know that, maybe we should get rid of Facebook, right? So there is an element. It's just not in the. It's not the same way that freedom is or free will kind of looks at it.
On the individual level, we are addicted to Facebook, but at societal level, might realize this is probably bad for us and we should outlaw it.
Yeah, we can make the collective choice that it's not good for
So if we
our
had the
species.
deterministic neural pathways to make Facebook, where does the deterministic pathways to get rid of Facebook come from?
When you say deterministic, are you talking forward or backward? It sounds confusing.
I can't answer that because I wasn't necessarily talking one way or another in my own mind.
Oh, okay. Can you explain in a different way so I can understand what you're asking?
No, I think it's
When
pretty
we-
straightforward.
you
If
said
we
when
have
we-
deterministic neurons that make us make Facebook, why wouldn't we just keep making Facebook? Why would suddenly the neurons to get rid of Facebook in our brain disappear?
We were determined to.
I don't understand what you mean by disappear, though.
Right. So if we're making Facebook, there are currently neurons in our brain saying, make Facebook, make Facebook, make Facebook, right? Then we make Facebook. Deterministically speaking, those neurons are still there saying, make Facebook, make Facebook,
Because
make Facebook.
something.
How do we
whoever-
magically change to having neurons that say, don't make Facebook, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it?
I think
So that's what I was
Right, go.
saying earlier about there's that one thing that I think you can make a case for it. This falls under that. If you're talking about the neurons specifically, I personally, I don't know that much in that area, so I don't have an answer. I don't know if PRAWNCESS wants to go ahead.
Well, so in this case, we manifested an environment where Facebook now exists, and now we had to deal with that environment. And now we realize, oh, this new environment is having negative consequences, and so we might realize, let's now change that environment. But we didn't have that environment until it kind of manifested.
So how is that not
But
just
she's
free will?
saying the change in the neurons from that thought to the new one. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, because if we're deterministic, there really is only like our neurons don't change structure throughout our lives. They really just change like the signals and the hormones that they do. But there isn't a whole like there's neuroplasticity, but there isn't like you don't get new structures out of like new thoughts or anything like that, right? So the point being that if there is a biological imperative to think make Facebook, then that should outlast any short-term temporary imperative to get rid of it.
This might be a dumb analogy, but let me say weight loss and Ozempic. So I think before, like we had a big obesity problem because I don't think people have enough willpower or free will to like kind of eat the necessary calories to not gain weight over time. That seems to be a general thing we're dealing with.
Environment.
And so the only solution we had so far was to actually have a tool that makes us like not feel those urges.
So you're resting this
maybe
heavily on the dopamine system, and here's the biggest problem with what you're about to say.
I don't think it's as simple as the dopamine. I don't think so.
It's heavily on the dopamine. It's heavily.
I think it's not as I think it's way more complicated than that.
Heavily, because it's very addictions are reward based. Almost always, by the way. So
say
everything is technically.
I don't think so.
Ozempic
Ozempic
works.
works. Okay.
Money and access to healthier foods, though, would the person still choose the unhealthy food?
But the environment doesn't negate free will.
But I didn't say that.
Yes, you do. Every single time you say like environment, like that doesn't debunk for free will.
I'm saying it's I'm just saying it's a factor. It's still an element.
It does debunk it because if environment is determining what your decisions are making, that's not free will.
But we can put two people in a same environment and get different outcomes.
You can put the same person in two environments and get different outcomes. Yes, because the environment is a factor.
Two different people in the same environment and get different outcomes.
Yeah, because of their genes,
bodies and brain chemistry,
ancestors, lots of different things.
So how is the better explanation just not that we're not deterministic?
Why is it?
I think you're kind of saying like, oh, it's just so complicated. Which
no, I'm not. No, I'm literally not. I'm saying if we were deterministic, we would see all these patterns be fixed. We would see any fixed pattern, but it turns out we hardly see any fixed patterns in human behavior. We see lots of drivers that are archaic in nature, but humans at the end of the day, I am listening.
I follow what you're saying, but I would say free will is the problem because most people do see these patterns, but we cling to this idea that we must have control. And so every time people want to get rid of it and follow other
plans, you
plans,
can't explain why we start having different behaviors despite these patterns being fixed.
When
the environment is constantly changing.
I don't think the problem's not getting fixed because of like free will. I think that's a systematic problem.
It is but it is, and that's in the system. Free will, and I think in terms of like law, jail, that shit on like the far end. So that's what I originally.
I don't get like the utopia, or like, to me, like, you can still make bad decisions in a deterministic and free will,
You just said decisions, but whatever.
or bad outcomes
You
can
should
occur.
be saying computations.
I don't know about anything about computer programming, so I don't even know what that means.
Well, no, if you're deterministic and acting purely on environmental stimuli, like a fruit fly does,
I should mention, I
it'd
say
be
that
like
because
more like a computation.
even though we don't have free will, we do have to deal with we have the illusion of free will. So we all, that's the thing we all have to deal with.
Yeah. I
So
think it's
so
an
again,
illusion.
if I shine a blue light into someone's eyes, am I always going to get someone who doesn't like having blue eyes and shown in their eyes? Even though, by the way, we have neurons in our brains and even nerves in our eyes that when you shine a blue light in them, we our eye muscles contract.
That's a
We want to turn away.
deterministic. But that's a deterministic
Right,
argument.
but I'll still find people who are okay with having blue light shine in their eyes. Go to any fucking rave.
Yeah, because they're on
That doesn't
fucking
disprove-
ecstasy. What are you talking about? Their
No,
pupils
they're
are
not. They're
dying.
not always on ecstasy.
Not
They're not
always,
on.
but like, what are you saying?
But they're
at a
still okay
rave.
with having blue light shine, despite there being
sure?
a
Prove it.
deterministic reason.
I think there's
to
a major
look-
disconnect happening
Despite
here.
there being a
Yeah.
deterministic reason to look away,
Mhm.
and no environmental influence not to, because I can tell you right now, like I'm personally in no rush to find a reason to have blue light shine in my eyes, right? But I can still go out in the streets and just find somebody who's like, yeah, I guess I don't care if you shine the blue lights in my eyes. It's more interesting than not having a light shone in my eyes. And what
Okay,
I'm saying is,
Melanie and the
wait.
weird blue lights. What
Maybe
is this?
and what
Wait,
I'm
maybe I
saying
feel like-
is that just
I feel like
because
this-
the
does
brain
not matter-
has
this does not matter at
deterministic
all?
pathways against blue
Mhm.
light doesn't mean that
Yeah.
people can't develop their own preferences through free will.
So evolve. Well,
No,
you
it's like
say
you can't
preferences,
evolve
I
within a
say
lifetime.
evolve.
You don't evolve within a lifetime. That doesn't make sense.
One sec,
You.
I got to
You
address this.
don't.
Wait, because we keep
Wait,
wait.
That's not how
Why?
evolution
We're
works at
having
all.
wait. Please let me moderate for 1 sec. We're having an epistemic divide because you keep bringing up the two people thing. Like every person is an individual. I can't talk individuals. I can't say that word. They're all individuals. Yeah.
But
So
you
like we wouldn't
understand,
expect
we
just
have,
because
like,
just wait.
common-
I'm talking. You first ran for. Well, let me just finish. Just because one person has like one result and one expectation and one like a like doesn't mean everyone else is gonna have the same one. We would expect everyone to have a slightly different result.
Right, and why
Right,
isn't that
they would
diversity
say-
capable of becoming free will? Sorry, go ahead, Ghost.
I'm sorry. They would probably make the argument that they didn't choose, that person who likes to have the blue light shine in their eyes didn't choose to like the blue
Get
light
it?
shine in their eyes.
Yeah, they just happen to like that. They happen to like that or dislike that. They didn't make that decision.
I don't know. I'm just thinking if free will exists, prove it.
No,
Yeah,
what's your
so-
favorite color?
No, I want to hear. I want to
That
hear
actually
it.
changes heavily. Yeah, so again,
Like on based on different things. Yeah.
again, what reason did we ever have to break away from instinct? It just doesn't make any sense.
When you say instinct, do you mean like the lizard brain that Robert Sapolsky talks about?
Yeah, responding to stimuli in predictable ways.
So why haven't we changed? I think that we still are
No, why
responding.
Why did we break away from why did we start diversifying and emerging in complexity and how we respond to the same stimuli?
So I'd say it's obviously multiple factors, but one thing I can think of like off the top of my head is when a man and a woman would have a baby, men had they'd evolved to lower their testosterone because they used to crush their babies by holding them because they were apparently fueled with testosterone. It's evolutionary, take what you will with it. So it's like over time. So they did it because they want to invest in their offspring. They're going to evolve to not crush them, you know?
So
One thing.
this doesn't explain to me why
I just gave you one
different
example.
men have incredibly different behavioral responses to, for example, high tea.
To what? I'm sorry?
Different men can have
Mm-hmm.
incredibly different behavioral responses to high tea. Why don't they all have the same instinctual response like most mammals?
Because everyone has their own body chemistry and body makeup. We would not expect.
So
other-
again,
hold
why
on,
did we
hold on,
start
hold on.
diverging from
Because
from common?
There's other factors like plastic that can affect shit like that. So it's
no,
like
this has been diversifying since well before plastic. Let's be real.
sure, but I'm giving you an example of something that was affecting it that wasn't in a person's control.
Okay, but again, so we have a perfectly working natural selection system where we go from being born to surviving to having sex to dying, right? Well, again, why did we decide to start breaking from that?
Have we? Because
Have we-
earlier
yeah,
in
we
the
still do that.
conversation, you said that that's what our purpose is.
No,
So
no,
which is it?
We
no. I'm
are
spending my
trying-
entire life not reproducing. I'm
We
barely
gotta-
surviving,
We gotta go.
and I plan to live
I-
forever.
I think if we're
Go
trying
ahead.
I
to
love
figure
that.
out what free will is, we have to talk about the things that we believe people have the most control over. So, like if I asked you to stand up or something, like you have the decision to stand up or not. And so what would you guys say is the factor that's making you make that decision?
There's too many
If
at
it's
play.
determined.
There's too many at play because the fact that things would have happened long ancestors.
Write it all off.
Okay,
Just write
it's
it all
long.
off. It's too
It's not,
mysterious.
but that's not writing it off. I don't understand like the animosity or like the harshness when I say things like that. It's like
It's not
like-
animosity.
it feels like you're getting triggered. It feels like you're getting triggered by it, but I'm not
It's
understanding
more like
why.
triumphant because I feel like you're again aiding my
Mhm.
point that you are just writing it off. It's too complicated when you were accusing me of doing that earlier.
Okay, hold on. Don't Darv on me right now. I'm genuinely
Oh
asking.
my god, that's
like,
not
like
Darvo.
earlier-
That's holding
earlier
you
I was
accountable
saying-
for your
You're moving.
own statements.
What are you talking about? I just asked why you
I'm
come
all
at me
confused.
like that and you turn it on me. I just asked you a question. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. I wasn't trying to be a bitch.
Neither was I. I definitely wasn't
Even
trying
though
to
I like
Darvo anybody.
am. Sorry.
You just say like I am triumphant.
But my thing is like I feel like when you absolve, it's not even absolving, but when
I'm
you
so
when you
sorry,
can,
Ghosty. It was supposed
when
to be
you-
a one-off fucking comment.
it's okay. I don't know if you were saying that to me.
No
I
worries,
don't
no
know.
worries.
I can't hear.
No, I would
but, like,
apologize. I said I'm sorry, Ghosty, because that was supposed to be a one-off comment. It
Oh.
wasn't supposed to derail things.
Oh, no, it's good. I was reading the chat, so I got distracted.
What does chat say? What do they fall in this?
Shut up. Melanie's
I don't really
annoying.
know. I really don't
I'm
know.
sure they agree with free will.
I
Probably. I
most
think
people
that's the
do.
popular, the
Yeah.
more common opinion.
Free will seems to be the religious take.
Well, I think
It's
also how most
fundamental
people
in the Bible.
experience-
It's fundamental in the Bible. Free will.
They
Wait.
say that God gave humans free will.
Free will,
So
yeah.
so the most far free will people are usually religious.
It's pretty
God, I
common.
wish I was dumb enough to be religious.
Let me just jump in real quick. I think it's also the default because like I do think that that's how it appears on first look. I think it's an illusion. But
I mean,
like,
if you
look at
believe in
your-
free will and you're religious or separately, you're the same level of intelligence. So I don't know why you said that, Melanie.
So let's look at this practically, right? Who of us are ever going to use like a deterministic outlook on life? We're always in some way limited in the variables we can see and stuff like that. It's always going to appear like free will to us. And I think
No,
you
so
know,
I would disagree. I think the criminal justice system, you should look at it deterministically. I think it'd be a way better improvement and would lead
That's
to
my
a more
goal in
restorative
life.
How would it
system.
improve? How would it improve?
Because
the
they would
system?
focus on rehabilitation and not
we
punishment.
can do
We
that
can
with
have
free
that
will
in a
too.
free will society.
Yeah, don't
too,
you
though.
think they do it already if they have the free will? Seems
But
like
how is that
we-
going to improve on the model we already have?
Do you think our model is good right now? Genuinely.
No, but like I don't see how that's an improvement.
How is it going to improve?
So actually, sorry, I got going because this question was asked to me. I think actually no, I think we have worse results because we think people have free will. We're like, oh well, you had the ability to not do that
Should have
crime,
known
and
better.
you chose to do it anyway. So we're like, well, actually, we're going to treat you worse than we would someone else because we think you actually looked at both decisions and you're like, no, I'm going to do the bad one. Whereas
What
I
about
think that's
someone
not
who
really
has
accurate.
affluenza and actually does do harm because like they're just so privileged that they can't feel anything? Like are you just going
Well,
to make
again-
them poor? Is that the remedy?
Wait, what?
No, wait.
Nobody's
You still-
absolving.
Okay, crime
People who have
still be
influenza.
addressed-
Sorry,
wait,
just to be
let me-
clear, affluenza is a rich
Stop
person's
asking me
crime.
questions, then cut me off and answer,
Boring.
please. It's so annoying.
I'm just clarifying because I don't think I said that right. Affluenza is a rich person's disorder, so this is almost.
I
I know.
I
always-
do know
I
that
thought it
story.
was derogatory, but yeah. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
I think
hate
it's what
it.
you're saying,
People,
but
it's fully
you would still
derogatory.
treat that crime like you would still punish someone because they harm someone.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't be like, you did that because you had this decision to not to. You just be like, well, no, you did this because your environment and your genes and a bunch of other factors.
But wait, as a determinist, we should agree we should de-incentivize things.
I'm almost done. Yeah, that's why there'll still be a punishment, because we realize, yes, because of that actions, there's consequences. You still would give that guy a punishment. You wouldn't be like, oh, well, they couldn't do that. Let's just let them scot free. You'd still jail them and maybe keep them within society if they show they could not improve or be better.
I think, like, from my personal stance, like, I used to be a heroin addict. If I believed that everything was deterministic, I probably would have not quit, because I would have thought, oh, I'm a heroin addict. So
yeah, because the recovery for heroin specifically revolves around personal responsibility and free will. I don't know if I would say free will, but like
deterministic recovery look like?
Hold on. Rehabilitation. So before she even got involved with heroin, they probably would have recognized stuff. There would have been more treatment options because we'd have more funding. It depends. It's like, it's very
So you think I wouldn't have chose, or wait,
I think you were,
I would have chose it either way though, right? Or
yeah, I think you had other factors at play that affected or positively influenced your recovery. It's this is a subject that I'm actually doing a lot of research on because it's a tricky one.
Well, Ghosty,
So
I'm curious.
Would you agree? Okay,
Wait,
because I think I think
I went out first. Let me ask my question first.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure,
I think
the
recovery has been shown to really help those that struggled with heroin addiction. So even that, when I'm like, would we take that away? It's something that I will like flinch at and think about. So I'm not sure.
yeah, because just real quick before you go, just to
Go
respond, like I think almost a deterministic view might fix more problems after they happen, and I think free will might be more of a preventative. But
I don't think so. I think
what I think.
I think when you have rehabilitation as the solution, it means you operate with a society that defaults on compassion, and I don't think we have that in this model currently. I think if we allocated more resources and stuff, sure, you could probably make the case for it, but wouldn't we have done that if that's the right thing?
I just don't see
I don't know,
anything.
because I think people have free will to make bad decisions.
Yeah,
like
and they're shitty.
Profit off of terrible prison systems and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
This might totally derail, but just because you mentioned this, I'm curious. How do you think choice and like addiction interact with each other? Like, do you think addiction is a choice? Ghost.
I think it's
I think I already know what you think, Torshaa. So I'm curious what Ghosty thinks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's different for everybody. Probably. I think some people choose to do it, and I guess there's like a scale of how inclined you are to it. So more people are going to be more, or certain people are going to be more inclined to do it no matter what. But I think some people who aren't inclined at all will choose to do it still. And some people who are more inclined to do it will choose not to.
So I just have a slight issue with the logic that's forming around this. So Torshaa, under your belief is that everything is deterministic, but at the same time you'll come to say, oh, like there's some people who believe in free will, and that's like what's causing problems. But isn't that kind of like a scapegoat tactic? Because
no, it's
you
not
already
a scapegoat.
let me finish. Let me finish. So what it is that under your deterministic view, everything has already been set up in the determinism. Nobody has free will right now. So how can you use free will as a scapegoat if everything's already determinism for everybody?
So you're already like mischaracterizing what I said about free will.
No, not at all. Not at all.
What's my definition of determinism?
That everything works out as I can't steal man. Go ahead.
It's okay. It's okay. When I was saying that determinism exists, and I think that's evident, it's what I'm saying is that there's a lot of things that we can't see that cause causal chains. Sorry, I speak horribly. Causal chains that are more on the random side. And so when we behave in a certain way, there were already things affecting that decision, but we have an illusion of free will. And like, I won't get into like the perception, I guess, but when you say a scapegoat,
so it is all deterministic.
So sure. What deterministic means is that there's other things influencing a decision. So unless you can tell me exactly what neuron caused you to make its decision, it's irrelevant. It doesn't follow logically.
I'm not even arguing for free will right now. I'm just trying to
Yes, you
figure
were.
out
That
your.
was the question.
No, I'm saying that you're using free will as a scapegoat under your
I don't
purview
use
of
free will.
determinism.
Oh,
It's
you're
like
saying-
everything is determinism right now and determined.
Yep.
So it's like, aren't we already living in the deterministic will? So who cares
Yeah.
like what you have to suggest on anything? This is the world we live in, and we just have to deal with it. Who cares about your ideas of like we have to be more compassionate? We have to reform the prison systems. Who cares? It's all determined.
No, it's a good question. I've seen. So you're asking like two things. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, have we ever done this anywhere else? There's other places that have. Wouldn't we have brought it here if it was deterministic? Sure, we'll see it in 10 years. We can bet money on it. I think it will, hopefully. But then the other part of the question was, how can you choose that if it? Sorry, did I miss that? Did I mix it up?
No, I wasn't bringing up choice.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like,
Sorry.
why would you try to change anything?
I thought it was
kind of?
something like, why do you even choose to talk about it? Like, that's the vibe I got. I didn't know if you maybe asked it or not. Like, what's the point?
Oh yeah, it's like it's like what's the point of everything's already
It was
determined and everything's set in place? Yeah,
It
well,
was
it's same
predetermined.
meaning. Same meaning. It's
Kind of,
determined.
yeah. Predetermined, though, in that sense. But yeah.
Well, if you want to just say predetermined and not determined, then that's
Just in
suggesting
that-
there may be choice. There
No,
may be
that's
some
not.
choices
Okay,
involved.
hold on, sir. No offense, but
This
I
might
joke all the
clarify
time.
thing. Can I read
Hold
the
on,
official definition?
Can I? Sure, but predetermined is a deterministic phrase to say.
Of course,
Just
I
say.
completely agree with that.
Well, then
It's,
you just said that it wasn't. You said that's not determinism or something.
but you're the one. But you're the one who's making the delineation. I want to make sure we're on the same page
No,
here.
you just said it. You just said it, and
You're
said,
the one who brought up predetermination when we're on determination.
Oh, I think about SuperChat. But I wonder if there are
Time for the
more than
car
one
crash
definition.
now.
She'll come back in a second. But I think this is why the misconception keeps coming out. Determinism doesn't mean everything is predetermined. Again, there might be multiple definitions, but the one I'm looking at from Merriam-Webster says a theory or doctrine that acts of will, occurrences in nature, or social or psychological phenomenon are casually determined by preceding events and natural laws. So things are determined by what preceded them. It's not like everything necessarily has to
It's not
be
like fate.
predetermined necessarily. Yeah.
Okay. If determinism isn't the only thing, what is the other thing?
Like what's the alternative?
No. What is the other factors or variables involved in this
I think
deterministic
it's
world?
randomness, right?
Just
Well, I think
randomness.
it's all those things: acts of will, occurrences in nature, and
Acts
social
of will.
and psychological phenomena. Would be those
Define
things.
define acts of will.
I'm sure there is actually definition, but I don't know.
Or
off the top of my
no,
head.
just your thoughts. What is it under your thoughts as an example? Acts of will.
Things that are done with willpower. I don't know.
Kind of sounding like free will to me.
Yeah, but again, these are determined by things that already happened. That's what the argument is. So it seems like it's a free way. It seems
So
like you're
then
making
why
the
would you-
decisions like,
so
I'm
why
try-
would
I'm
you bring up
deciding-
this
wait,
out-
Let me finish. I'm answering this. Let me get this. I'm deciding I want to eat this cookie. But actually, I grew up and like this. It reminds me of like this childhood cookie I had that my mom used to make, and that's why I really want to eat this cookie. But I didn't decide that my mom made me these childhood cookies, and now I'm 20 years later, and I really want this one cookie. So
But
I
you
did not.
choose to not eat
So
it
it's
still,
just
though.
so it's
that was
just
determined because something that
determinism.
happened in my past.
But you could
So-
choose to not eat it still. You could want to eat the cookie, but making the decision to eat it or not is up to you.
I'm open to that. I don't know if that's actually how the brain works. How about for this? I don't know if it's the most comprehensive study, but like there's some like studies I think that were like there's like a light on the I forget how it works. Like you'd like
How
hit,
do we
like, a
come up
left
with
or right light?
completely original ideas? Like,
Well, I
like I
don't
know
think we
that's
do.
yeah. Well, and not in the sense that but like with the idea that maybe I don't have to eat the cookie, right? Like perhaps like can you like I can think of times where I didn't have someone looking over my shoulder to tell me, oh, maybe you don't have to do anything, despite all the drives to make me do it, right?
I guess what I'm saying.
So can you only?
It might. Let me address
the
this. See, I got cut off a
the
little bit.
scapegoat for me, just to clarify, so you can actually address this. The scapegoat for me is when you say, "Oh, that's just environment," Like, no, that's not just environment. Like, you can't just point to environment vaguely and generalize it that way.
I agree that's a simplification, but my argument is, however you look back at the thought of the origin, you are not the author of that thought.
That's not true. Okay, so if I come and I meet a new animal in the forest, right?
This
animal's never been documented.
No, I'm adjusting your point. Let me finish this. No,
you did. You paused long enough for me to interject. Yes, you were.
No, yeah, but but unlike you, I pause because that's like how you have conversations. I have more to say.
No, but you paused long enough to make it sound like you were done. Am I crazy?
Well, now when you know I'm not done.
Let Gosi decide. Gosi's on the spot. I'm making this awkward for her.
Oh God.
If you don't piss off a moderator, I'm just joking. Honestly, I kind of forgot what I was going to say now. So
that's never stopped me. I've decided long ago I'm going to keep doing that.
Mel, you also know, like, one of the reasons I had keep going forward because I owe brain fart, and now it's gone. And that thought is that.
So let's say you meet a fox on the streets and you haven't met me before, and nobody's told you how to deal with a foxbury. Do you pet it? Do you run away from it? Stuff like that. Your instinct tells you to run away, but you use your conscious brain to be like, oh, well, it has really cute eyes. Maybe I actually want to pet it and get to know it, right? But no prior thing has told you about fox Furbies. Where does this idea come from? How do you see these choices that have yet to exist prior to this?
So I think none of that matters. Like when I encounter the fox Furby, I'm really not. It's not my decision whether I run away or not. My brain's doing that, but I don't really have control of that.
But that doesn't make sense to me because, again, let's say you've always been told to run away. Let's say your environment and your internals.
Let me just talk for a second, okay? So, do you control when you get afraid of something?
No, but I control how I react to my fear.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally disagree.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Wait. You made a point. You think when you're in an extreme point of desperation and fear, you have complete control of your actions?
Well, no, you can't just maximize this.
You don't go into fight or flight kind of mode where you actually have less control of your actions?
This doesn't apply to the maximum fear example. This applies to nominal
I think in minimal fear, you are when you have a shock response and you are limited in your.
Yeah, I've done parkour, bitch. Every fucking neuron in your brain when you do parkour is like, fuck this. That's not.
Well, that's totally because I feel like that's
I know that's not totally. I'm just kidding
because you're in flow state. But yeah.
But okay,
let's startled and you could choose to scream or not. You might want to scream, and then you might think like, oh well, if I scream, this person's gonna know where I am.
He's just gonna say that.
You didn't choose that thought.
Can we stick on my thought experiment, right?
Just wait.
My God.
Melody, I am just here. I'm literally going to address exactly what you just said. It is not just environmental. Environmental is a factor, but that's one of, I think, an almost infinite things. The thing is, you are not in control of that thought.
No, you make the decision what is best to do at that moment. So there could be a list of things that you could choose, and you choose which one you personally think is best, and it might be the right decision or it might not be.
Maybe I'm strong. I don't think people make decisions. Actually, I think they do.
Okay.
And you think that's a better world? You think that's a better world to live in, where people believe?
I think it's true.
They aren't actually in control of their decisions. Okay, so
I'm just curious about it. Like, you have a brain, right? And you're walking through this world. Let's say you've never heard, seen, thought about a ball, like a 3D rubber ball, and then you encounter one. In theory, you should have no neurons that tell you what to do, right? You have no anticipation. There's no biological imperative. This is an entirely new thing. What makes you eventually go to pick up that ball?
I don't know. That's the thing, but I don't think you author that thought. For whatever decision you make, you're not really in control.
I think it makes a lot more sense that when you encounter something new. Okay, you can. I don't want to interject you every time. I'm sorry, Ghosty.
No. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's a good question. Why do I think that?
But like it's my opinion that when you encounter any new thing, whether you've been told what to do with it or not, your brain already has a list of options that you can choose from that include running away, going up and petting it, watching it from a distance, all of these things. And yes, in some ways, these are like kind of like categorized or predetermined, but in other ways, we decide whether it's through calculation or not, what to do at the end of the day. And since we can't perceive the difference, it doesn't really matter. We have what effectively amounts to free will.
No, but see, my thing is that calculation. I guess I maybe agree. You're doing a calculation. You're not in control of that calculation at all. You're like basically your brain's going through a Rolodex of all the options and going, here's the card. Here's the card we're picking. You might go through a couple other cards before you pick the final one, but you're really not in control of the final card that gets picked. That's my opinion.
It sounds like
I'm open to
more
being
like a
wrong.
computer than a brain.
I do think they act very similarly.
Well, the reason I said computation is because at the end of the day, there is some sort of neural computation. But another way of putting this is I can stimulate the same neuron multiple times and get different results. There's no determinism at the neuronal level. There's no determinism at the brain level. There's no determinism at the human level. It falls apart when you have so many degrees of freedom that for us, we can no longer perceive it because what we are perceiving is making a decision.
No, but to me, that you're talking determinism. There's so many complicated things that you are out of control that are proceeding.
Right, but what matters more?
What's happening right now that you don't have control of? Yeah, of all those things that are culminating in the final decision.
But I identify through the choices I make, whether or not they actually happen. I still perceive myself as being choices that I make. Right? I think you're
wrong. I think it's
really,
a delusion.
really. That's really weird to me because when I was a kid, I made the choice to fall through thin ice, and ever since then, that is something that has always stuck with me. Right? Like there was nothing that told me I had to skate on that thin ice. It was literally like, I just want to skate and I don't feel like caring that the ice is thin. I just hope.
Maybe you're not listening because none of this disproves anything I've said so far.
But likewise, this is the problem with determinists is that half the time what you're describing sounds like free will to us.
Again, I think you keep conflating the determinism as like everything is predetermined, which is not what determinism means.
No, I'm not. But you also sometimes, when you describe it, don't just exclude predeterminism from your definition. You just don't know yourself including.
I think I have been this whole time.
Okay. Man, I sort of wish we were computers because this, like, all of these blunders in our schisms in our discourse just couldn't happen as easily.
That's why
at
I
least.
think I get why you think brains are computer-like, but I guess I would have to be like a brain scientist to like fully understand all of this. But I think there is a significant difference. I don't think we are robots, really.
And I would say that might be an overly simplistic complication. Like I don't think we're actually like a Rolodex. To me, like it's almost an infinite Rolodex that we're kind of dealing with.
But the only difference really would be like consciousness and free will.
You'd agree we get bored with like repetition, right?
Sometimes we like it.
But the fact that
I need more context.
Do.
It depends.
So there's some sort of case where the brain can get a lot of dopamine from the action the first time and then just get diminishing returns over time. Yes or no?
You need more context. Like music is inherently repetitive. That's why we don't listen to like just random sounds and stuff. That's why we like choruses.
Oh, I do.
We like repetitiveness.
Oh, I do. Just I'm smarter than you, and I have more free will than you.
Actually, I used to listen to noise music, so I'm not gonna say it's a different thing, but most people would say that's not pleasing to listen to.
So you can think of counter examples, but you're still not answering my question that yes, there are examples where people tend to get diminishing returns of reward from repetition. The point being,
I did answer your question. I said I need more context. I'm saying, yeah,
no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Sometimes they like repetition, like when music, and sometimes they don't like it. Yeah.
If I told you to do an infinite amount of push-ups and that you'll get infinitely strong, are you just going to keep doing an infinite amount of push-ups?
Yeah, that's not what you asked. You asked me, do they like repetition? You didn't ask, do they like doing the same thing?
I said, are there any examples? Forever? Any examples? PRAWNCESS, use your fucking ears right now. Any examples where people get bored of repetition? Not are there no examples? Are there all examples? I said any, meaning one qualifies. Can you think of any? Or have you never been bored by anything?
I can't think of any. But the original question was,
holy shit. No, it wasn't. My point being that the brain doesn't always like taking the same path and making the same decision over again. And
I don't disagree. That's why I said it depends.
It
depends. Going back because you just over talking me now. That's why originally when you asked, hey, do you think people like repetitiveness or dislike it? I was like, it depends on what we're talking about.
No, I just said, is there ever a point where people get bored with repetition, and you made it into that? So you can.
No, originally you asked me.
Stop putting the onus on me. You're just being a rhetorician right now.
Do you just all right? No, wait. Do you want to rewind it? You definitely asked me that. You definitely asked me that a minute ago.
I know what I asked. I asked people get bored from repetition.
I'm looking at the clip. You asked me that after that.
You're so avoiding. You're avoiding letting me get to my fucking point. You're afraid of me getting. You're afraid of me making my fucking point. You're afraid of me making my fucking point in your filibustering.
No, I'm upset because you're being bad faith. Because I actually
you're the one who's telling me what my argument is, instead of accepting what I'm telling you.
I actually not. I'm saying you've been telling me what I'm saying, and I'm saying no.
Why don't you tell me what my argument was going to be? How about you tell me?
So first off, I did answer this a fucking minute ago, but you're not fucking listening. No, you didn't,
because you answered a different argument.
No, I answered both. You're not fucking listening, dude. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you that.
So I am finishing what I'm going to say now, which is that what we see in people is that they get bored from repetition. And the reason that they do this is that sometimes neurons do not react the same way from doing the same activity. In fact, some of them will refuse to fire the same way because they have something called hysteresis.
And if you want to realize that does not counteract determinism at all. That can be a part of determinism because that is a reaction to the past.
Hysteresis. If you want to understand hyster-fucking-resis, think of it like this. If I take
how does that disprove determinism?
If I walk from point A to point B, and then some cop stands in between those points and says you have to go around, there's now more paths I can take, and I have to choose if I go left or right. There is no predetermined path. Just like the neuron doesn't know.
This is what I mean. You're not even listening. I'm not talking. How many times I just said you are arguing against a predetermined thing, which is not what determinism is. So you're just not even arguing about it. You're not arguing against me. You're not arguing against determinism. You're arguing against something we're not even talking about. You can't bring up predeterminism. Stop bringing it up. It's not relevant to this. If you bring it up one more time, you're just being bad faith.
I think it's funny that when you try to define it off the cuff, you define something that does sound like predeterminism at the end of the day to anyone.
You're going for stuff. I gave you
define it from Webster's dictionary, and when you define it from Webster's dictionary,
I gave you an off-the-cuff definition.
Willpower.
I never did that because I wouldn't do that because I go by the real definitions. I never gave you an off-cuff definition. So
again, the neuron forces us to make decisions because it gets bored of doing repetition.
Welcome back.
Hey, sorry, I
gotta address this.
No,
Melanie, I'm
just curious.
Melanie, I don't disagree with you at all. That could be completely true, and actually that works within a determinist framework.
But it makes more sense. No, it makes more sense for free will because it makes more sense for free will because you can't have an infinite number of predetermined.
I'm not going to stop. It's my stream. I could mute you, but I'm not going to talk because I'm just going to answer your point because you asked me something.
I'm going to address it. You've already
it's almost like you don't want to hear the answer.
No, because you've already started. That's demonstrating you don't understand that neurons aren't deterministic by nature. That they can't have an infinite amount.
I started saying if I agree with you. And do you want to?
The more hysteresis that happens, the less environmental factors can affect its action potential.
Okay, you just don't know what determinism means. Wait. You're getting really stuck on like these this. Wait, let me stop. Do I have to fucking mute you, dude?
Serotonin reuptake.
You're just not talking about determinism at this point. You're just not talking about it. So like we can talk about something different, but you're just not talking about determinism.
You're right. I'm talking about how free will would work at a neuronal
level.
So
I'm talking about what you just brought. You brought up like the neurons, and then you said that is incompatible with determinism. And I'm like, no, it's not, because if you're saying that, you're not talking about determinism.
Science that makes it not even deterministic because it can shut off environment.
Do you want me to explain why you're wrong? Because I was ready to do that 5 minutes ago.
Start getting random outputs.
Do you think that disproves determinism?
If we're getting random outputs, then why don't we see somebody having a seizure? How come they still make this? How come they still
see? You're so stuck and you're being. Wait, Torsh, let me address this. I honestly think you're brain broken. You keep going back to the predetermined thing, which I think you're tied to because that would disprove your things. But it has nothing to do with what actual determinism is.
You're doing predeterminism.
Let me fucking finish.
You don't understand history.
I can't talk.
Because
I
you don't,
think
you
I'm
don't
going by your
understand what I'm
even
talking
based on
about.
your definition,
Trying
it
to
doesn't
refute-
disprove it.
Because you don't
Do you
understand
want
what
to
I'm
show
talking
me
about.
why? You don't even make a point. It's fine, but it's just not. I just think it's not very good faith.
Steelman me. Where am I saying that determinism breaks down?
Based on what you just said, you said how I forget what the exact word is, but how the neurons work and something about
She said the
because
neurons don't break down. I was like, what?
No, I
you're
said
saying after some point of repetition, the neurons want to do something different. Is that like a simplistic way to say that?
That's very simplistic, and I think the threshold that I said was when neurons start shutting out environmental factors that
Okay,
determine.
I'm fine with it. Actually, I agree with that. Because I don't know about the brain. I'll just assume that's correct. I'm fine with that. It still works within my system. Do you want me to tell you how?
No.
Do you want me to tell you how?
I don't think you understand how that makes free will for me.
No, it doesn't. No,
exactly.
It doesn't.
I don't think you understand.
No,
I don't think you
doesn't.
know
You
what
have to
determinism is.
elaborate because right now you're just saying a couple little words and hoping we pick up on the fucking jargon. Nobody's following.
I'm saying if we were kind of like happiness machines to put it so called, and we did a repetitive task, eventually we'd have a seizure from that because all of our neurons would start cutting off all of their stuff. And what I'm pointing out is that it's clearly more the case that we have the ability to still make decisions regardless.
Even in a seizure? Even in a seizure?
No, because we don't have a seizure even when our neurons stop responding to environmental stimuli.
Okay, hold on.
But wait, let me know if I disagree. Wait, no, because I want to just. I've been waiting for 5 minutes. And you just won't let me. You just keep over talking to me.
I already explained the mechanics.
I'm using.
Just let me.
Using your definition of the neurons.
I get it.
Can I just go with your? I agree with you on the neuron thing. Can I just address that?
I don't know if you can steelman me though on how that creates free will, but okay.
Well, I don't agree with that. But to me, that just points to more randomness. Correct?
No.
You're saying
this is what I point. This is why I'm bringing out the seizure thing, because when neurons fire randomly and people actually lose their ability to make decisions, then they have seizures. But there are clearly facilities that still make decisions for us, even when they're receiving random inputs.
Everything's firing in a fucking seizure.
Randomly.
What are you talking about?
Randomly is the key point.
Right, but you were saying it was like an absence of. So which is it?
So what happens when more and more of of the receptors in your neurons become inhibited due to reuptake is that your neuron will either eventually stop firing or start firing random signals. It turns out that those random signals don't generate random responses in the brains. They can result in fixed patterns, but it's very, very, very difficult and probably impossible to predict which one, because at the end of the day, there is no predetermined, I get an input from this neuron, I give this output.
PRAWNCESS, everybody can see
let me address
that
this.
literally proves our
And
point.
define it with also defining predeterminism.
No, you're so broken on the predetermined thing. You don't understand the definition of
what is your definition?
Determinism.
Let's do this again. What is your definition?
I'll read it out loud. A theory or doctrine that the acts of will, occurrences of nature, or social or psychological. Listen to this last part. It's the most important part that I think you keep missing. Are casually determined by preceding events and laws.
Casually or causally?
So if you just add more randomness, that does not disprove determinism. That just means that previous randomness is now affecting the now determinism.
God damn it. Did that say casually or causally? Because I sometimes read casually instead of causally too, and I think it meant causally.
Sorry, causally determined.
Thank you. And that sort of matters because what I'm
saying it's the preceding events. It's the preceding events. I'm saying you're just adding more random.
So then why are you engaging with it? You don't have to. Like literally, I've come here. Everybody's been super nice. I haven't been convinced that free will exists, and I'm pretty sure determinism does after this entire conversation. I want to hear 3 or something arguments that aren't talking about neurons, because right now the neurons are not in your favor.
No, it really is, but I just don't think you actually understand.
It's really not.
I do, because I literally.
Okay, great. So let's go over this again. You can tell me where it doesn't make sense. So when our brain gets
for free will existing, that's like
releases
just
a certain neurotransmitter in response to that stimulus, it will then block off that receptor, so it can no longer take that as an input. And that
but we cannot control that on people level.
I'm not saying we can control that.
Let's let Mel finish the whole statement.
Getting way too fucking excited.
No,
go ahead. I want to hear your full. I want to hear your full response. But after this, you had to let's respond to this fucking neuron.
The more of these receptors that get inhibited, the less the output of the neuron becomes a function of environmental inputs. That is just has to be true because it's not receiving inputs anymore.
Sure, but there's also the recycling method though that you're missing, which is
that's time. But that takes time. Yes, it does.
Completely.
Yes, it does. Reuptake takes time. Inhibition takes time, and so
recycling.
does.
So recycling though
is metabolic. It takes the most time out of those things.
Are you okay?
So, anyways.
I don't think you understand that that's what's going to determine the behavior. The recycling.
There's typically two outcomes for this neuron when it no longer receives inputs. Mute him so he can't interrupt me. Fuck you, PRAWNCESS, you fucking troll.
What happened?
So do you think we can
get random outputs, or
I thought we got into the call.
So how does that prove free will though?
And this hysteresis happens a lot in repetitive tasks. So if we took someone like a slave, for instance, who did repetitive tasks ad infinitum, we would expect them to have predictable seizures because brains that get random inputs make seizures. What do we see instead? What did we see instead? They decide to keep going. They have a willpower that keeps them going.
Every single person?
No, that's all of the random inputs.
That's motivation. I brought this up in the beginning of the debate. I said, if you want to talk about the motivation, for sure. No, I did.
Right.
I want to ask one question.
How can the ability of neurons to take sensory input from their environment break down, but they're still apparently acting causally based on their environment?
Because the environment.
Wait, Torshaa. This answers the question. I think it's really important. How the hell does that disprove determinism?
Because I would need to be able to influence. There need to be some factors that are not intrinsically causal. And if you want to talk about intrinsic causalness, that's fine. But are not intrinsically causal can no longer
affect my decision making.
There's other parts of my brain can no longer affect my decision making. The prefrontal cortex, the place which is known for making decision making, is the most active place at that point. And it's because at that point, all we're doing is decision making. We're basically cut off from our outside environment.
So, hold on.
Let me say one quick thing.
Cortex. Okay, but it's the anterior ventricular cortex too, which is also connected to the amygdala, which is
Let
me stick on the neuron thing for one second. Just even within your own, with what you're saying, wouldn't this be deterministic? Because the previous repetition is causing effects in the brain today. Something that happened in the past is now having preceding events that are causing today. That's what determinism is.
So at this point, the person is constantly consciously choosing to use their memory to keep doing it.
I think you gotta define that a little bit more.
Do you guys think you can change your moods or decide to have, like, if you're having a bad day, do you think you can decide to have a good day?
Depends. There's a lot of factors.
So what would be
I think no.
Smelling chocolate chip cookies could influence your mood. Seriously.
Like, that's what I mean. I guess like meditation is kind of controlling your feelings, your senses, and things like that. I think there are things that we actively do that can change like our path. It's not just all like determined for us mentally. Like, I do think there is a mental, I don't know how to describe it because I'm not like, I don't know much about the brain.
Because it's
stuff.
Dopamine.
Let me respond real quick because I was gonna say that.
You can't just say it's just dopamine.
Yeah, because I think
bold of you to say that when you were giving very reductionist arguments.
It's almost like you have to do that when you're communicating.
Let me respond.
Let me.
Go see. go through real quick. I think this might just explain like why we think a little differently. Because I guess I do agree. Like there's things you can do that would make you change your emotions. The thing is, this might get confusing. I keep going back to the original thought of like, oh, I want to do this thing to change my mind. I don't think you are the author of that thought.
Desire. It's a desire.
You think the
that is
person
coming out
who-
of some ether that you don't really control.
the person
the
who's
self.
going to decide to change their emotions that day, they're that kind of person. They're just determined to change their emotions that day. That's like what you believe, essentially.
And to be clear, not
Focus,
predetermined.
stop it.
No, I
Melanie.
know
But
not
yes,
pre-
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
not predetermined.
Yeah.
Guys, whatever donations, whatever. Can I get 2 seconds and I'll leave you people alone? I do apologize. Melanie, do you remember talking about being in a camp and feeling scared about everybody around? So you had to change your identity.
Well, that was a group home, but yeah.
Sure. But you understand? Okay, so you do. So I do apologize for jumping in like this. And I'm not fucking smarter, better, anything than anybody else. What it is there's certain things that like only certain people deal with societies and living, right? So what I'm trying to say is, Melanie, maybe I can get you at a certain extent when you talked about acting a certain way to survive, right? Can you at least give
Are
me
you
the
saying that's
grace?
deterministic or not? That's all.
No, what I'm asking is, can you at least understand that I may be able to continue this conversation with you to understand what it feels like to be in a spot where you got to change.
Yeah, I'd love to have that. Are you asking, do I want to have this discussion? Because yeah.
No. What we're doing, we're gonna walk this whole fucking thing of will and not will, whatever. It will end up getting there.
You just start.
Before we get off that, can I ask Ghost one question?
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be fair to say, because I assume in your hypothetical, do you think you chose to be sad in the first place?
No. I think there are probably factors outside that would make you feel sad, but I can act on that and go deeper into my sadness, or I can choose to do something. Like I can make the decision to be happier, to do something that makes me happier or sadder.
But the thing is,
so I'll say that's
wait,
fucking crazy.
King, wait one fucking second. I promise I'll be done. You can rant. The thing is, because you did not, to me, because you didn't decide to be sad in the first place, that's something you did not control, and all the things preceding it are kind of a reaction to that. That's again an example of it's kind of determined because you didn't decide to be sad in the first place, and now you're kind of reacting to all that stuff that you did not decide.
Again, that's why I'm a compatibilist, because I do think there is
I think
some
we're more in line.
determinism,
Fuck
but
Lego
I also
terms.
think they're just
Fuck
factors.
your Lego terms. A compatibilist? What?
All right, King. I'll give you a chance to make a good point.
PRAWNCESS?
Yeah, what's up, Azrin?
Hi, Azrin.
Can I add something to or?
I'm sick of this woman that can call herself a dude. Do you think
No, we're not doing that. Azrin, yes, please. What are you gonna say?
Yeah. See, I some time back I'd seen a documentary about Hernan Cortez. So the crazy part is Montezuma had the royal astrologers predict what would happen. They predicted that a god from the east will come and overthrow him and establish a different religion in Mexico. That prediction came true. Then I took Biden's date of birth, place of birth, and time of birth into consideration. It was given that he'll get a leadership position in this particular phase and he'll become the president. That prediction also came true. Then there was one more prediction which predicted that El Chapo Guzman will go back to jail. So if you take into consideration all of this, we humans are mortal, all right. So being mortal, you're subject to space, time, and causation. And since you're subject to space, time, and causation, the existence of free will doesn't make sense actually. It's like you are, controlled by entities that are beyond your ability to grasp what it is, beyond the mortal coil. So it's very tough to say that there's free will. So many, if a prediction comes true, determining the fate of an entire nation and a kingdom, then what free will do you have actually?
It doesn't make sense. It's predetermined only at that rate. And becoming the president means you rule the whole world, actually, of the United States. You're virtually the leader of the entire free world. So if you could predict that actually that Biden will become the president in that particular period of time, just by taking his date of birth, place of birth, and time of birth into consideration, what free will do we have actually? It doesn't make sense.
Well, that sounds like you're arguing for predeterminism, like fate. Like there's this fate that we can't control that exists, that's
Yeah.
going to happen no matter what.
Yeah. It is like that, because like your innate nature is determined by the power of time, and it is not under your control. As long as your ego self-identifies with your limitations, which you have in plenty, fate will search for these weaknesses, and when the time is right, he'll alter the chemical patterns in your brain and make you self-identify with those limitations, making you commit those actions, by which you'll again by which you won't be able to change the outcome as well. So I mean, I don't understand how people still believe that free will exists. This was this thing, like Hernan Cortez's home nation is Spain. So if you take Mexico actually and look at it on the map, it is the east. He did come eventually and defeat Montezuma and establish his kingdom. Where is the free will? This is the fate of an entire nation and many people as well. I don't know how people say that predetermination doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Got one more for the
Citation needed.
not free will. Anyone else want to jump in? Chicky, it's been a while since you said anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still, just as you guys are asking us for the proof of free will, I'm still on the other. Well, I'm still on the other side to say that where's the proof for determinism without having these extra asterisks onto them. It seems like whenever we get into the determinism argument, we now get in. It also includes things like, PRAWNCESS said, like acts of will. There's areas of randomness, social influences, these additional variables. But I'm still not convinced that there's proof of determinism, because you would have to demonstrate a predictable movement or a predictable action of a particular person, and have that repeatable.
That's not true.
Well, that's kind of the scientific method.
No, just because of the act of the randomness, whether you want to believe it or not, it's science, but just because of the act of the randomness, that goes against free will. If something's going to be beyond your control and acting in a way that you can't see what came before it.
So then it's not determined.
No, so I think it's because randomness is completely compatible with determinism. Because it basically means it's a reaction to what just previously happened. And if past was random, that would still fall in.
It doesn't matter if you think or not. It's in the definition. It just is.
But
but the thing is, go ahead. Okay.
I'm not a scientist.
Well, no, but that's the thing, is that you're bringing up determinism and you're asking us for proof, but you're not actually giving proof to your determinism. You're appealing to randomness.
That's the definition.
I can give some proof. I think,
I'm not engaging.
Like, isn't like just like the cause, like standard cause of events, like isn't that deterministic? Like, I forget what fucking law it is, but like every like action needs a reaction. Isn't like kind of the basis that you could like use?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm asking for. Is the repeatability of determinism upon a biological being.
Okay, God has been repeated throughout centuries. Like, it just, I get what you're saying. It's just
but that's a philosophical thing.
But that's what I'm saying is we already covered the science of this in the beginning of the conversation.
No, you really haven't. You've appealed to randomness.
Let me ask.
Science is about repeatability.
But if
science is about repeatability, and
that all the time. Truth.
Tiki, like, let me know what you mean. Like, would this show something like they do like these activities like where like they'll have like a bunch of people like in an elevator facing like the wrong way, and like someone will come in later, and like he'll kind of adapt to the crowd, without like be kind of like something you're kind of like could be used as evidence, or is it like would that not really apply?
But maybe.
So like humans have predictable behavior in psychological studies. I think that has been determined.
But it's also not all consistent.
Right. It would be hard to prove, but like how you would have to do it is fully understand somebody's brain wiring genetics and then be able to predict every decision and next move that they're making. Obviously, that's like an impossible science experiment.
It has nothing to do with predicting. You can't predict.
But
But that is what
Yeah, we can-
determinism
Well, if you
is.
No,
and that's
no,
exactly
because
and
you
that's
guys-
what-
you guys
that's
keep-
what that's
understand
Barron's
something.
that's Barron's
You
argument.
guys keep doing this.
But that's
You guys
also
are not
Barron's
talking about
argument.
determinism. No.
No.
You
Yeah.
guys are not talking.
You're literally
but that
picking
is.
up-
Not talking about
You're
determinism.
waiting
No.
until I say something and then picking that word, and you said the same thing 3 times about the randomness.
Never done
I
that,
don't-
Torshaa.
Okay.
Tiki did-
then I'm
Tiki
done.
did
I
just
won't
do that.
talk. You're good.
But yeah,
I-
Tiki,
I
I know you're arguing, but
understand.
you're not arguing against determinism. Sorry, go ahead, Ghost.
If you can fully understand the reason why somebody is going to make the decision they're going to make, that's what determinism is. It's things that are uncontrollable outside of you. So you would fully have to be able to comprehend their brain structure, their past, and then how that affects that specific person's brain. So where everything's going to fire in their brain to make that decision. That's
Also, I think-
what
Sorry, go ahead.
determinism is.
No, I think you're totally right. If we could tell the future, the thing is because we don't know the future. We can't see what the next preceding events
if
that are going to be
things-
reacted to are going to be. Because
No, it's-
that would need to be
no, it's
that
talking
would need to
about
be involved
knowing-
also.
No, it's talking about knowing the
but-
entire state of everything. And
No,
it's
that's not determinism. Okay, you're just being bad. That's literally not the definition of determinism. So like,
no, I'm
do you-
explaining to you that she's not talking about the future. She's talking about if we knew every factor and we could put it all, like write it all down, then determinism would say that we could
well, we
have
would
a
know the future then, because we would
predictable
know the future factors also.
No, we wouldn't know the future, but we would
I'm
be
sorry.
able to know how somebody reacts to a given thing.
Also, I
A
think you keep-
specific person reacts to a given thing, not because it's predetermined,
Oh,
because there
yeah.
are determined things in their body and their environment, their genetics, everything, that
But you-
they're going to choose that.
But even
So-
then, it's still going to be a probability. It's like
At-
it's
at that
still going to be a
moment, yes, we could-
probability of one
I
way
think
or
we
the
could do
other.
that. Like, I mean, hypothetically, like we'll never have that technology or that ability to have
Right.
the understanding. But yeah, I think if we had the ability to somehow measure all that in the moment of like, this is everything you have up until this moment. Now you're making a decision. I think we could predict that.
But that's what you would need to prove that.
No, but one way we can simplify this.
Intent.
Actually,
Yes,
I don't think-
you're right. It's a good
You can just-
point.
yeah,
I
go
just feel like
Go
people aren't engaging with it anymore. I feel like we're going in a circle.
No,
I get what
just-
you're saying. It was a good point.
I
I
just feel
Go ahead, Ass.
Yeah, the thing is, like, if free will existed or predetermination didn't exist, and free will was the thing that really existed, your consequences, you wouldn't face the actions of you wouldn't face the consequences of your actions. You would be able to take how many ever drugs you want. You would never fall ill. You would be able
Plenty
to
of
smoke
people don't
continuously
experience
without falling
consequences of
ill.
their actions.
Then, like, you would be able to, what do you say, live even
not
in
what free will
cold
is.
or.
We're not arguing absolute free will. We're not
Yeah,
arguing that.
We're not arguing that if I want to fly, I can fly. It's within our reason.
He's talking about if people could just live if we lived in a world with, well, where you could just run amok is what he's talking about. Wouldn't people just have a purge? And it's like, no, I don't think they would in a deterministic world. I think they would just behave as
No,
is.
but yeah, because everything
I'm not making that argument.
is
He did.
yeah,
not you.
but from the cradle to the grave, all your actions are fixed. Because I've been to many astrologers, they're always able to spot on predict what professional you'll do, whether a business will suit you, or whether a job will suit you, if you'll get married or not, if you'll have children or not. These basic things that we think that are under our control, they're
That's
able
not
to
basic, and that's
predict.
anecdotal.
That's not
I mean, like,
anecdotal.
No,
I
that
think
was.
Yeah, it
someone
is.
can predict.
Citation needed.
He's-
Citation needed.
No, but
Wait, hold on. He's talking about people are more predisposed to pick a career or have kids. You guys don't agree with that?
He's
Not
talking
an
about
absolute.
Predeterminism.
It's
I'm curious what
nobody's
the statistics are on
predisposed.
false
He is
starts.
arguing for an absolute.
I
He is
didn't
arguing
hear-
an absolute.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
his original argument is that no, he actually made an argument that he was able to predict when Biden was going to become president.
yeah, I can
That's
show it to
pretty
you right now.
absolute. He's arguing
Yeah,
absolute.
Oh, okay. Maybe I misheard.
and
My bad.
and the president of the free, if the whoever becomes the president of the US becomes president, leader of the free world, so he'll indirectly control the fates of everyone on the globe. His decisions affects all the people. Actually, if USA goes down, they take the whole world down with it. So whoever becomes the leader, that a lot of factors from his cradle to the grave will eventually influence him becoming the president, right? Which is not under his control, to be honest. So
Is this a future
I,
prediction?
So
yeah, it's a future. It was a future prediction, and it came true.
So
Back then, I saw it
there's
actually.
a lot of times that
wait,
people
no,
will
no.
say that they know something's going to be this way, and then when the actual person becomes president, let's say, they'll be like, "See, we predicted it," but what they really predicted was like somebody's going to rule here. It's like I forget the term for it. It's like where we attribute like something to be our full belief. It's why people fall into magic.
I don't
And
know.
the- and the- and the
it
US
goes
is-
to be prophetic. I'm sorry, I just had to say
I'm
that.
just going to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
well, yeah, the U.S. is not in that much of a disarray. It's like we are in a politically heightened time, but generally speaking, people are still eating. They have foods, they have cars, cell phones. We have technology to communicate with each other. It's like overall, we're doing okay for the most part. It's we're just kind of like we're in a rut, I guess.
You think they were doing okay? I feel like a lot of people disagree with that.
It's not the best right now, but we're not in like absolute terror. You know,
Yeah,
things
you're
could be
right.
a hell of a lot
Yeah.
worse.
I probably agree with that.
Like right now, I would say
An
food costs are
easier
horrible.
time. Sorry.
Food
what?
costs are. I would say food costs is horrible, and people are having to dig into their savings right now. And it's like if things don't change soon, yeah, we are going to become more in a difficult spot. But otherwise, we still have a lot of luxuries right
if I
now.
were a gas, and so never mind.
No, but even if you look at every empire, it starts with the pioneers, then it goes with the age of conquest. Then after the conquest has been made, every empire, no matter how barbaric it is, they make room for commerce. Then after commerce, the age of affluence comes into existence, where they'll become rich because of what they have accomplished. No, the age of commerce, the age of affluence, then the age of intellect, the age of decadence, and then the empire collapses. This is how every empire lives, right? Now, like they see.
So are you saying these things have to occur distinctly?
Yeah, they occur in cycles. So if they occur in cycles, I've never seen
how
anyone
come
break
now
the
it's
cycle.
right now, it seems all blended together. We've got intellectuals online. We've got commerce. We've got colonialism from like countries like Russia and Israel. It seems like all the cycles have blended together. Why is that?
No, the cycles actually have, what do you say? But the cycles are pretty realistic over here. Every time a scientist comes up with an innovation, the businessmen see how you can commercialize on it and how you can give it to the people. So commerce is always followed by innovation. So the cycle keeps continuing. No empire can stay on top forever. And on top of that, no one wants their, like when they've come to a particular level of development and they see all these luxuries and comforts, no one wants that to go away, but it happens right all the time. There's a saying, from sleeveless to sleeveless in 3 generations. You'll start out in a hard, frugal manner, build something for the next generations. After 3-4 generations, they'll squander it away and you're back to being sleeveless. That cycle is also pretty true, and it's happened to oligarchs as well. So
wait,
can
I just ask, you're from India, right? Does this apply to the higher castes?
No, it applies to everyone. It doesn't apply to the higher caste alone. It applies to everyone, actually. Where has any dynasty?
I haven't seen this actually apply to the higher caste. They seem pretty like secure from one generation to the next. In fact,
not anymore. There was a time
generations. What they've held on to their wealth for, how long have they held on to their wealth for?
No, they used to be on top once upon a time. Now all the lower caste people are, what do you say? They've been given a lot of preference by the government. They have a lot of quotas in government colleges. So they're doing better than the upper caste people.
I'm not asking about the lower class. I'm asking about the upper. When has the upper caste lost their wealth? When have they actually gone through a cycle?
No, but our demographics have declined. The lower caste people have
their wealth.
No, but they've lost their
They
wealth,
haven't.
right?
Okay,
The
I think the
government,
answer
no,
is
the
that they
government
haven't.
came in, it seized all the wealth of the people who are growing, who had farmlands near the shores. They said that you can't cultivate so much, and they even passed a law that you can't own so much acreage in the city. So many people lost their
That's
lands
very
because of what
specific.
the government did. Where can you
Wait,
hold on to your wealth and
the
prosperity forever?
the issue I have with this is that this is a lot of like generalities and of like large social groups of things that happen, but it's not actually predicting like an individual level of each person and their outcome. And I think that's
also just
more the
not
premise they're trying to
historically
get
accurate.
into. I think,
No,
well,
but
yeah, it impacts
on
it slightly, but the thing is that it still doesn't predict the individual outcome of each person. And I think that's
no,
what
but
we're trying to get at between free will and determinism.
individual level also, I've seen many people who are murderers and criminals. Whatever is given in their horoscope comes true. For example, Andrew Cunanan, he killed that fashion designer Gianni Versace and then he shot himself. So it was given when I
So you're
checked
getting
his
into
whole
theology
biodata and
now.
his horoscope.
So you're now getting into
No, I'm
theology.
saying individual.
He was
No,
always talking.
individually also I've seen he committed suicide, and he it was given that he'll die by a weapon. That prediction came true to over there, right? So like, and not just that, it was predicted that El Chapo Guzman will go to jail. He went to jail as well, and even Chris Poit, it was given that he'll get embroiled in a murder case and then he'll be sent to jail. He killed his own children and his wife, right? That prediction came true as well. So on an individual level, you can predict many things about a person's life because he's subject to time, space, and causation. So you take his date of birth, place of birth, and time of birth into consideration. You check the latitudes and longitudes and correct the right mathematical equations with trigonometry. You'll be able to predict exactly everything that will happen to us in his life from cradle to grave, and
Okay,
it always comes to.
I want you to predict when I'll die, and I kind of already have a general idea of when I am going to. So,
Okay. You don't mind doing this for me? Can you send your date of birth, time of birth, and place of birth to me, to my email account, and even your photo as well? I'll take it to this person, and he'll be able to exactly predict everything. Actually, there's a software, and he
nah, I
goes
won't
into
go
a
that far.
trance.
What could go
I want,
wrong?
I wanted you to do this right up front. I'm willing to give you some public information, but you know,
Wait, what's the name of this type of astrology? It's with a V, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's numerology.
Yeah, it's called Mindscope.
Oh, okay.
I've encountered it as numerology, and one of the biggest
Oh, okay.
problems is that, like, a lot of these numbers are very arbitrary, right? Like, so your location on the planet, like the coordinates that we set are especially like in the longitudinal sense are arbitrary, where we set the mean date time, whatever they call it in Britain, the GMT. That we could have placed that literally anywhere else on the planet, right? And so when you give him those coordinates as numbers, they're factually meaningless. They are literally just placeholders for information that could be any other number and still be that same location if we just had a different system. So it doesn't make any sense to say that there's like divine prophetic stuff in something that humans made up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I would love to talk about this for another 3 hours, but I should go to bed at some point. So I think we're going to wrap up and do parting words if that sounds okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm good.
Anyone want to volunteer to go first?
Well, I had fun. I still believe in determinism. I'm not convinced of free will, but I'm still open to it. I'm still open to it if you guys want to do another debate on it, maybe like earlier in the day. But yeah, I thought everybody gave a lot of interesting input. Definitely stuff that I learned that was new. Couldn't pull it off the top of my head because I'm tired, but yeah. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Thanks, Torshaa.
thanks, Torshaa.
Come back anytime. Always happy to have you.
I gotta get in this.
Bye, Torshaa.
Before you go, Torshaa, though, because you're also a Sapolsky fan, I think we need a one-on-one talk where
Oh,
we really
hell
get
yeah.
into
I've been saying
the
it.
behavioral stuff, because like
Yes.
for me, like it actually is very clear, at least where determinism ends in the human brain. I can't say that like I know where free will starts, but I know for sure that like
For sure. I'm down.
it just doesn't make sense to me that there would be that in there just based on how certain things work. But I think I did a bad job explaining it tonight, by the way, because there's a lot more nuance to some of these mechanics, and it was just the pressure of all the other people being on the panel and stuff like that. It's Like,
I
I'm
like
a
when you're
compatibilist.
passionate. I like
Okay.
it. You're
I'm a
going.
compatibilist, just to be clear. Like, I don't need there to be no determinism. It's very much like there's just a point to me where it breaks down, especially because there's so many variables, and that sheer amount of variables to me can't also support. I guess what I would say is
Hard
determined
determinism.
outcomes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we could definitely do a discussion about it. I don't know. Do you have Instagram?
No, I have Twitter. I'm old
Ew.
like that. I'm old school.
L. Okay.
Sorry to rehash this one time, but I think the big difference is it's not about the determinism of the outcomes. It's that
Let it go.
the
Let
present
it
is
go.
determined by the past. Yeah, well, we can rehash it another time.
Well,
I think
I'd
it'll
love
be
to,
fun. Yeah.
I'd love to be part of this conversation. I'll even admit I was definitely not prepared for this subject coming up, so I usually like a little bit more, like a couple of days to prepare.
Yeah,
So-
let's do
Yeah.
it next week. We could do it Monday.
I'm saying we could definitely reuse this for one of our debate shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll actually get on camera.
Oh hell
Not
yeah!
a dog.
Oh,
Look out for that.
So cute.
Yeah, he's begging to go
Ghosty.
outside right now.
Also, thanks, Ghost, because you've been here for basically the whole time.
wow. I know. Yeah. No, I'm getting tired and hungry, but yeah, no.
Not all my
thanks
streams
for-
are this long, just so you know.
Oh,
I mean,
pro
I'm good
tip:
to like hang around.
keep food next to you for these sort of things, especially when you don't know how long they're going to go. I had a pre-cooked whole chicken and some hamburger buns and sliced cheese, so I could make myself chicken burgers as we were talking.
My
Wait, that
kitchen's
sounds
like
so
right
good.
there, so it's pretty helpful, but good advice.
Don't starve yourself on panels. It makes your brain work harder.
No, I know. No, I mean I ate not that long ago. But anyways, thank you for having me. And it was an interesting stream. I definitely like to come back if you're willing to have me in the future.
Oh hell yeah, absolutely. On either show,
yeah.
debate show or the date show. You're welcome back on both.
Okay.
Actually, I have some second. No, I'm just kidding.
Melanie.
You're banned from my show. Yeah, I'm glad Ruby tagged you in. It was great to meet you. Definitely happy to have you. So I'm gonna do Asfroon, and then I'm gonna do my own parting words.
Oh, okay. Yeah. First of all, thank you, PRAWNCESS, for having me on your show. I would like to conclude that I have been to numerous astrologers, and I've also learned a little bit of astrology on my own. So I know something about predicting futuristic events, and I've seen numerous people who are dissatisfied with their lives who've tried to commit suicide also, and they failed. Their lifespans have already been written down from the date of their birth. So to say that free will exists even to a small extent is a fallacy, actually. Torshaa is right in believing about predeterminism, and so is PRAWNCESS as well. I'm saying this
Princess,
based
I'm
on
so
hard
sorry. Can I ask
experience.
him a question? Can I ask you a question? Like, this is a
Yeah.
serious, like, good faith question. Do you believe
Yeah.
in like, not like afterlife? I actually can't think of what it's called. But you know, where you're born into a new body after you die. What's that called?
Yeah,
again?
reincarnation. Yeah.
Reincarnation
Wow.
reincarnation is true, because I know this will sound even more crazy. I've been to a place where they exercise the souls out of the people who are possessed by them. The spirit is something true, and these guys would have
That's
done some
wrong.
mistakes or something. Yeah, they would have done some mistakes, right? They, by violating all codes of morality, would have invited some kind of negative or demonic entities into their bodies, and you'll have to use your hand in another dimension to pull it out. So when it goes
I
into
want to
the
hear
energy,
about that.
yeah,
I
when
want
it
to
goes
hear
into
about that. Dang.
I
when it
kind of
goes into
actually wanted to derail our goodbyes because, and the thing is, it's like
you're trying to keep me up.
PRAWNCESS is going to get mad if this takes so long, so sorry to cut you off. But I just wanted to point out, I think that there is actually a chance that reincarnation is true, because I think a lot of what humans believe and what we do, like a lot of our culture, if you see
Similar.
things from the perspective of how an animal might see humanity, like how our pets might perceive what we're doing, a lot of our stories about ourselves make a lot more sense. Like how we create villains in our heads and stuff.
Reincarnation would be another factor of determinism.
I was gonna say that actually.
I know. I'm just saying I like to believe in it, and this is just something like I see. I can almost see the way cats see us, and then I see like the way humans like create villains, and it's just like, oh, there's some overlap there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just never get to talk about that.
Hey Melanie, if you want, I could just leave the stream with you, and you can just run it into the ground. But I do have to go to sleep at some point. It's almost 3:30 a.m. at my point.
If you can give me a way to cut down
There's
the
spiel.
stream, I'll do it.
420 here.
420, hell yeah. Blaze it, bro.
I will keep it. I will keep you going 24 hours, 24/7 even. I will take like some Adderall and keep going until you're ready again.
Shoot me your email. I think I've done it.
Can't you just do it with free will? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's there's a point where I was Wiccan enough to believe I could do that, right? Like I could shift myself into other realities, and if I just like concentrated, because of the fifth dimensional thing, when I did believe it.
Selfishly, I wish reincarnation is like the true thing because I want to keep living. Ideally,
I want to be
hopefully not as something worse.
PRAWNCESS, you were definitely a snail in your past life. You've got like huge snail energies.
But that means I was a really good snail because I got upgraded.
Be nice.
I would say a tiger, actually.
I love it. I can't do it. I can't purr.
Hey, we're all humans now, so we must have done pretty good in the past.
I feel
like you can't do bad as an animal. It's kind of hard.
True.
Just watch what you shouldn't see my snail self.
You were a snail.
You fucked up the other snails.
So many trails.
And the slugs. And you did like a slug genocide, didn't you?
That's so fucked up.
I salted my own tribe.
Ew.
I'm just imagining it's like a slug cult, but instead of like punch, they say like salt. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bit in there somewhere.
And by the way, I'm also the type of person who wants to believe in karma.
All right, enough to I got to get this through. Let me just finish this through. I'm getting delirious.
The video.
Yeah. Not as many viewers as we had on earlier. Understandable since it's very late. But thanks for those that are still watching.
Right, because it's late.
Subscribe to my channel. I think there might be a little bit more. I mean, I love this determinism combo, but I think the dating stream gets a little bit more eyeballs on it. But I like
we're in a little bit more dicks, but whatever.
Sure, yeah.
True.
A little bit more unhinged.
I'll show up for the next dating one.
Cool. Let me know what it is. I think we may go back to every other Thursday, but just look out. It's going to be a bi-weekly thing. Look out for it. Ruby will be back hopefully next week. Hopefully her nausea is done by then. I did my spiel. Yeah, sub my channel. Help me get that 500 subs. If you're still around and you have not liked the stream, please do